6 o'clock. Good morning for the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Will Bowling. Tennessee basketball falls short last night in Oxford with a 78-76 loss to Ole Miss. Senior Jamin Brakefield scored 19 points in the second half, including a putback to win inside the final 10 seconds. The Rebels corralled 11 offensive rebounds in the second half, resulting in 11 second chance points. Elsewhere in the SEC, Florida goes to Tuscaloosa and upsets Alabama 99-94 in Coleman Coliseum. The Gators get 27 points and 10 boards from sophomore Alex Condon. They've now won 8 of their last 9. Alabama has dropped 2 in a row heading into a Saturday rematch with Auburn. In the NFL, the Los Angeles Chargers released outside linebacker Joey Bosa last night. The 29-year-old was selected number 3 overall in the 2016 NFL Draft. His 72 career regular season sacks rank him second in Chargers history. The move saves L.A. $25 million in cap space. And the Las Vegas Raiders, they rewarded pass rusher Max Crosby with a 3-year, $106.5 million contract. The extension makes Crosby the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history, with an average annual salary of $35.5 million per year. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Thursday morning, and on this show, it is a Friday Junior. That starts right now, 104.5 The Zone. RKW on your radios, your smart devices, your 104.5 The Zone app. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. And Justin Hawkins is our producer. 615-737-1045. We've got mock drafts with quarterbacks going 1, 2, and 3 from a very reputable source. We'll talk about it this morning. Coach Dave Mcginness at 7:20. The 33rd team, Sam Monson, stops by at 8:20. And an interesting piece from Nick Suss of the Tennessean says the Titans are looking to 3 teams as inspiration for their rebuild starting this offseason. It is Thursday, March the 6th in beautiful Music City. How are we doing? Good morning.
Doing solid this morning, man. Good morning, good people. How's everybody doing?
We're good. I got to get my coffee, though. I haven't got my coffee this morning.
You got no coffee yet, Kayla?
Not yet.
Man, I brewed some scooters this morning, man.
Did you?
You brewed it yesterday. I figured I'd return the favor. Look at you.
I'll have to go check it out.
Skipping on the good stuff. What's wrong with you this morning?
I know. I was
man?
doing some prep work. I'm doing the TSSAA state championships this weekend.
For what sport?
For Division I basketball. Or Division II,
Division II is
single
this
A.
Single A.
For the boys and the girls. So I'll be in Cookeville, excuse me.
You got to drive all the way over there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how the job go, Mon. That's what you do. You drive to the places to call.
do it remote.
Get up early on Saturday. Get over there at 11.
Okay. Is the matchup set? I'm just asking because I don't know. It's not set.
They play tonight to set the state.
Day 1 is today.
So I never made it to those tournaments, okay? So I'm asking a lot of questions on this.
Oh.
Is there one game to play for the state championship trophy, or is there still a bracket to play in Cookeville?
No, so tonight they will play, what would you call it, the semis?
Semi?
And then
quarter or semi?
The
state
Saturday.
tournament starts tonight.
There is a tournament in the building in
Correct.
Cookeville.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Murfreesboro next weekend. That will be obviously the bigger
Oh,
schools.
okay.
Division I girls next weekend, Division I boys the next weekend, Division II boys and girls this weekend in Cookeville.
Oh, man,
and I'm
that's
even
tough.
doing a game with Dawn. This is funny. Next
The
weekend for
Babs,
the
okay.
girls, she's going to do color. I'm doing sideline.
Okay.
And then I can't remember who the play-by-play is for that, but it's going to be funny.
That's what's up,
So if
man.
you get us confused,
That's what I was just going to say. Are you taking it? Are you taking this slide up to say, hey, Babs, because it's going to happen. Somebody's going to call her
it happens
you,
all the time
and
on
somebody's
here.
going to call you her. It's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, it
That's
happens
dope.
all the time on here, so I'm used to it.
Look at the superpowers teaming up right here, man.
Right?
You
I know. I
and
looked at
Dawn.
my schedule. I was like, dang, this is cool.
No doubt, man. That'll work right there.
So I will get that coffee.
Yeah, definitely have to go get that coffee. I mistakenly did a workout this morning. Not mistakenly. I did it on purpose. Keisha, she told me, my wife, my boo thing told me, You think Zeus good tonight? Her voice ain't that deep. You think?
I was gonna say, dang.
Yeah, you made your voice
You're not
deep.
doing her any justice right now.
I'm acting like Bert this morning with Cheyenne or something, man. She's Mo. I can't even do it now. I can't even do it now. But Zeus is an old man now. He has to go out like multiple times at night, and if he doesn't go like use the restroom, like he gonna wake me up at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's been like that as of late. And I told her, I was like, yeah, he's good to go. And she was like, you sure? And I was like, yeah, he's good to go. Went to bed. Woke me up at 4:15 this morning. Not a bad time, to be quite honest with you. I've been I've been going back and forth on my workouts in the morning, so I've been waking up at like 4:20 or like 5 o'clock is what I've been rotating back and forth. This morning wasn't a 4:20 morning, and it was 4:15, and I was about to. As soon as he walked in the room, I said, "You were right." She didn't hear me. I hope she didn't hear me. Okay. Took him outside, went upstairs, and rode the bike. So I'm ready to roll.
So you're right. Yeah, you already got your workout in.
Oh, on the Peloton today. Nice.
Getting in that energy early is. I wish I could do that.
I know. Listen, I got goals in mind, man. I'm trying to crush it before football season start up next year. I got to be on these little kids' heads on the practice field.
You got plenty of time for that.
No, well, listen. I know me, and I'm trying to get ahead of schedule with a lot of things, man. What they say, summertime fine happens in the winter, so I'm just trying to do it. Hey, it's true. It's true. I asked you this morning, you still doing your hot yoga and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did the HIIT class in the heat yesterday, and I about died because I got blood drawn yesterday. I told you guys about that.
Yeah, you did. Are you eating before or after you get your blood drawn too?
After. I fasted before.
You got to fast before
But
too.
I did eat, but I went to class at 4, and her I told you that's the one that Nicole Kidman usually goes to, but her workouts are so intense, and usually, like, they're intense, but I'm, like, fine.
Yeah.
This time I was literally having to push myself. I was like, Haley, you're not going to barf.
I ain't ever thrown up from a workout.
I haven't either.
I ain't ever thrown up from a workout. Speaking of that, too, speaking of having somebody have hard courses, okay, my guy on the Peloton, okay, the black guy,
Who do you,
Alex Toussaint. Listen, when you stop, I stop. When you start to yell at the crowd, I'm stopping too, okay? You don't get the luxury of telling me to go harder while you over here on this bike just talking and yucking it up with everybody, okay? He does that often. You need to push. You better go. And I'm just thinking, you're not even pedaling. Now, I know he is insanely in shape, okay? Yeah. There's a difference on how he's doing it versus me, but I do take that little moment for myself sometimes, or I'll sit down when he wants us to stand up.
Yeah.
Listen, he wants us to go at like a 100 cadence with like 70 resistance. I'm just like, listen, I'm going to sit down and power through this thing instead of having you just fuss and yell and cuss at me.
I'm with you on that
he'll drop a cuss word.
I've never done any of those before.
You haven't?
You haven't?
Never done any kind of spin class.
They're fun.
I did my time with cardio. Cardio and I are cool.
Yeah.
We spent plenty of time hanging out with each other, and I want to hang out with weights now. I want to do other things. Not you could really tell. I don't look like I lift probably as much as I do, but that's okay.
You know what's funny? I was saying that to Kayla. So she mentioned the HIIT stuff that she was doing, high intensity. I was
Absolutely
like,
not.
I'm so anti that.
Immediately no.
Like you see me in the gym, Will, no higher than 45 pounds on the dumbbells. Like,
I don't do high weight. I can't. My body
can't
doesn't
relate.
handle that.
I can't do
one thing I can't
heavy lifting. Like the motivation is not there to go heavy on the weights anymore. And it's because Johnny Long and the University of Tennessee Strength and Conditioning Program, okay? And then you got to train all year for 11 years in the NFL.
I'm sure when you're done, you don't want to do anything close to being what you did.
opposite of Will right now.
And I did 10 years of running a lot and just, oh God.
It makes you ick a little bit.
All of my joints and knees and hips and every toe just all hate me. They yell at me all the time. I'm snap, crackle, popping all the time.
I get satisfied like doing cardio. Will, you just like, hell no.
No, absolutely not.
None
I did my time.
of that for me, he says.
Problem is, it's caught up with me now, so it's fine. But before I get married, I want to lose weight again, but we'll cross the bridge once we get to it. That bridge is still way down the road.
Hey, ain't no problem. I tell you what, though, I did go to Low T Center, too. Fellas, go get your levels checked. I was low. My T was, oh, my gosh. I felt it a little bit, too.
Just in terms of, like, energy?
I felt it. And because, again, when you do all of that stuff for all your life, like, it does, like, it'll hit you. And it's normal, is what I would tell you fellas out there. Sure. Go get it checked because that can lead to other issues, too. Just prostate and a lot of other stuff, too. So, like, go get that checked out, for sure. I was way low. And I was just like, I
Where's
told
that
the
at,
doc.
by the way?
They're everywhere. You got them in
Okay.
Hendersonville, Brentwood, all across Middle Tennessee. They're everywhere around here. But yeah, I felt it. I told the doctor, he was like, yep, you were right.
615-737-1045 is streaming live on 1045 The Zone TV. Ole Miss 78, Tennessee 76 last night. Not a good night for Tennessee's chances of being a number one seed in the NCAA tournament.
Was not. Auburn losing the other day I don't think has any effect on them whatsoever.
Alabama losing to Florida was significant, and Tennessee losing to Ole Miss was significant.
Very much so.
Tennessee's now got to be better than Florida in these last however many games they play through now in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, it was, again, they held off on the court storming too, but the second half of Ole Miss, what, did they do it?
They did
No,
it.
they court stormed. It was delayed. There was about 15
Fine.
Sigma Chi's at first in Oxford, and then everybody else joined in. Brad and Chad started it, and then everybody else decided, let's get it on this too.
Brad and Chad.
I can say that because I look like a lot of them.
Hilarious. But you're right. They were on the court hugging the fellas and stuff like that. And then the crowd, then the line broke after that. But Jamin Brakefield, man, absolutely worked Akpara last night, though. No points in the first half. Ended up just working the paint. And then, of course, the second chance shots off the glass is very uncharacteristic of this team. But it was right there. And then, look, you could have called a foul on the Igor Milicic last chance shot, but they were just letting them fly the entire game. Like, the Vols straight up lost that game, and there was nothing. I mean, they could have prevented this from happening. Like, they hit the outside ball as much as they needed to last night, and I mean, Ole Miss, they were able to just get to the court. I got to give it to them. They are a team that has a really good mid-range game, and they showed it last night. Their bigs in the paint, there was nothing that the Vols could do last night. They were walking them down, turn around, Kobe. That's all they were just saying as they was throwing the ball up into the rim, and it was good on them, man. It was fun watching Malik Dia and Chaz Lanier go at each other, too. Two Nashville products, two Ainsworth High School products, too, who were former teammates themselves. So that was cool. Last shot is what you say on that situation.
Yeah, it was tough. That's not a good rebounding team, and they out-rebounded Tennessee in the second half significantly. They missed 21 shots in the second half, Ole Miss. They got 11 offensive rebounds on those 21 missed shots. And this is one of the worst that was the team that was ranked 15th out of 16 SEC teams in offensive rebounds. Rick Barnes was hot after this game, talking with the media, talked about how unfortunate Ole Miss wanted it more than them. And he said going into the game, actually over the weekend, or beginning of this week, said, think about how much you like to play teams that are happy. And you might be happy about the Alabama game, but you got to get angry again. And clearly they did not get angry enough in the second half. I do not see that as an issue for Tennessee, but I do think Igor Milicic being a bit banged up, being sick as he was, Rick Barnes said he had strep throat going into the week, didn't help, but ultimately that's just the kind of mistakes that Tennessee's not going to be able to afford to make if they want to win a national championship.
You can look at coming off the bench, and it's always good to see, getting in terms of something off the bench, Jordan Gainey, but he can't be leading the all scorers with 17 and nobody else.
I didn't have any issues with the offense. It was the defense that was the problem last night.
He was hot, though, to that point, though.
Yeah, which that's why I just said it's okay to, but I feel like there wasn't enough from the starters.
Zakai has created this get to the paint, and I think right now they're not calling the fouls like he used to get, and his ability to just have the angles on the layups aren't there either anymore, too, because teams look like they're starting to put a big on him once he hit the paint, and that right there for Zakai is his height.
Coverage.
Yeah, drop, like they're blocking his shot, so he's beating the ball on the ground and can't find an open shot, and then when you got Meshack that won't shoot it as much as you need him to, comes problematic.
The offense wasn't the issue last night.
I wasn't mad at it. It was the rebounds for me.
Rick Barnes said post-game, I had no issues with our offense. 76 should have been enough to beat Ole Miss. It was not last night. We'll talk more about it as the show goes on. 615-737-1045. NFL news to begin the morning, where Charles Davis has a very surprising projection at NFL.com, and we'll talk about that next. Thursday morning at RKW, we are brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Visit your local Middle Tennessee Scooters locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Stream it live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. And guys, it's beginning. The first mock draft with quarterbacks going 1, 2, and 3 in the NFL draft. NFL.com's Charles Davis has Shedeur Sanders the pick for the Tennessee Titans, writing, Tennessee has all the options with the number 1 pick. In this scenario, second-year head coach Brian Callahan channels his Cincinnati days, seeing in Shedeur Sanders some of the same qualities Joe Burrow possesses. I think Charles Davis is one of the only people now with Shedeur Sanders going number 1 of the Titans. How would you feel about that?
I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's got to be a setup for Shedeur, though. Like, it does. A lot surrounding him is, if you want a better version of him than what you got in college, and this is almost any quarterback at this point. Like I said, most quarterbacks will tell you they need as many weapons and protections as they can get. But for a guy like him that possesses his traits to me are what? A pocket passer for the most part, having the ability to create down the line, outside the box a little bit. His scramble ability to me is probably one of his bonuses, albeit he goes backwards, put his team in bad situations. But he has prided himself on mentioning Tom Brady a good bit. What does that tell you about Tom? Tom was very concentrated in how he delivered the football to his wide receivers, his touch, his ability to direct the offense. His mental side is something that's not mentioned a whole lot when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. That's also one of the biggest things that Coach Brian Callahan said this last offseason when he was when he was discussing Will Levis. You got to be able to have the mental side of the game, because I think that's a bigger component to what he wants inside of his offense than almost anything else. The arm, it's relative at this point when you're speaking about him or Cam in a sense. Like, I think both guys can get the ball to you. I do think the accuracy and precision of what Shedeur possesses is because he has been mentored by Tom Brady and the conversation that they've had. Again, Tom Brady was always that guy that was labeled noodle arm. Accuracy, though. And the setup for his down-the-field passes is where they thrived at in New England with a dink and dunk style. So I get that if that's what Coach Brian Callahan wants. And I know this. Charles Davis is around this bunch a good bit, just like a lot of other folks. And that's why when you said Charles Davis had him at number 1, I didn't expect you to say that. I'll be quite honest with you. I was thinking Cam.
Didn't expect it either.
Yeah, I'm interested to see really who's going to have the most say in this situation when it comes to who they agree to pick. Because I will say, I think what Brian Callahan probably wants to work in his offense is more so a Shedeur Sanders, because yes, he has done that in the past with not somebody. I'm not comparing Shedeur Sanders to Joe Burrow, but there's more comparisons to him than Cam Ward,
yeah,
right? And even Brian Callahan said that, so I'm not going to take the heat for that. That's what he literally said. So when Brian Callahan says something like that, by the way, like you got to take a lot into that in terms of what he feels about Shedeur Sanders and the type of quarterback he is. Now, we haven't really heard him say much about Cam Ward yet, and maybe we'll hear a little bit more coming out of this top 30 visit with his that will happen on Friday. But my big question is what if there's a change in like what Mike Borgonzi wants opposed to what Brian Callahan wants? And we've heard Mike Borgonzi say too a lot of the things that are similar to what Brian Callahan's looking for in a quarterback, but he also said this is the day and age where you got to have a little bit more athleticism as a quarterback. And I do feel like there are parts of Cam Ward's game that you think, oh, that could be like somewhat of what Patrick Mahomes does. Not like that is Patrick Mahomes, but he has those capabilities sometimes to do certain things that are special. And I think he is a little bit more athletic of a quarterback than Shedeur. So it will be interesting if they decide to go for a quarterback, what really gets the final say? Like, who gets the final say? Will it be Mike Borgonzi or will it be Brian Callahan? Because Callahan's also said, I am the first to say it shouldn't be just about my scheme. We should be able to take the best talent and fit it in the scheme. And that's something he reiterated several times at the Combine.
Yeah, I said it at the Senior Bowl, mentioning that too. I mean, I don't think Brian Callahan's in the Andy Reid position of being able to pick all of his own players. I think if he was, he'd pick Sam Darnold.
I think so too.
To be honest with you, like if the quarterback decision was up to Brian Callahan, he's going with the best quarterback available, which is Darnold. Now that Stafford's no longer available, who he's worked with before. Out of the 4 top options in Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and Shedeur Sanders, where does Shedeur Sanders rank for you in terms of those top 4 options for the Titans?
Probably 4th, to be honest with you. Probably 4th. I'll be quite honest, just because the athlete that Cam is, the prospect. Cam is QB1. Mm-hmm. You look at Abdul, you can't pass on that. You look at Travis, can't pass on that. So, I mean, it ain't a bad group to be in 4th place with, but it's essentially what their, I guess, prospect rating is for this group. But here's what you also tell yourself is, if you are the head coach, GM, front office of the squad, like what actually works for you? What can you actually trust? Because a lot of how you call games and who you start results to or comes down to consistency and who you can trust. That's just how it goes in this league. And if they feel like they can have more control with a guy like Shedeur on the field versus Cam, then that's what they got to go with. And again, to your point about, how much say-so the coach Brian Callahan has as a head coach versus Borgonzi versus Chad Brinker, their job is to satisfy the coaching staff. And if it's that coach controlling his staff and want his team to look a certain type of way, then I'd hope that if we're talking about percentages on this pick right here with what he want to do with the offense, if they're going offense, I'm hoping he at least got 55% of the say-so on this one.
Yeah, and that's what we don't know, because in the past with how things have worked in this organization at least, it seems like they always want to sell like the collaboration and all of that. We haven't heard as much of those kind of words, those whatever kind of
I think they get
draft developer too.
That's
what I've heard.
All of those things, but it will be interesting to see, because I think the safest out of anybody right now going into this next year is Mike Borgonzi, right? Because he's the newest hire. And that's why I said it's just so frustrating, because we've played this game of almost like who's up next if it's not a good year. It's like who's the next to be cut, instead of just kind of cutting fresh and then having everybody on equal playing field. Now it's just like, I think Mike Borgonzi's the safest, but I don't know then if he gets into the mode too where, I'm going to have final say when it's all said and done, because I want to keep my job.
There has to be a partnership to it.
Sure.
But it needs to be, at this point right here, if they're really selling out for Coach Brian Callahan, it needs to be a good bit of what he wants. Now, whether that's free agency quarterback, like that is still an option.
Mm-hmm. How many head coaches have final personnel say in the NFL?
Final personnel say?
Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Andy Reid. Sirianni?
No.
No. I'm tripping on that one. Howie Roseman for sure.
Pete Carroll. When he was with Seattle.
When he was with Seattle.
He doesn't now.
No.
He doesn't with John Spytek. Who right now has final personnel say of head coaches? I think it's just Andy Reid, right?
Kevin O'Connell?
No.
Maybe?
That's Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's role. So, I mean, I don't know. I think if I'm Brian Callahan, I want Sam Darnold. At this point, it does feel like maybe that's an option for the Titans if his market comes down to where they want, to pay. But at this point, I don't know. I just don't think it's up to Brian Callahan.
I wonder about that too, though. If he wants Sam Darnold and he can somewhat sell Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker on going and getting him, but Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker are sold on one of these quarterbacks, and they're saying, well, we're still going to take that at number one. Then that also gets interesting, right?
The tricky thing is, Sam Darnold is the Alex Smith equivalent of what Mike Borgonzi did with the Chiefs in 2013.
Yes.
It feels so much more expensive, but in terms of percentage of the cap, it's not far away at all from what they did in Kansas City when Kansas City stuck and picked Eric Fisher instead of taking E.J. Manuel or Geno Smith when they needed a quarterback.
We had some suggestions also in the chat of other coaches that could have. Shanahan. Sean McVay.
Kyle Shanahan does not have final say in San Francisco.
Sean Payton, maybe.
Sean McVay doesn't either. Sean Payton
got his quarterback.
We're a little bit closer. I don't think Sean Payton does either. He's won it his third season.
Third.
In
Is
Denver?
it the third season?
Yeah, because he had Russ his first year. He had Bo Nix last
No,
year.
it'd be
Oh,
third.
going into his third. Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean,
in-
Vrabel's
in,
going to.
Denver.
Will
Yeah,
not in
Mike
this
Vrabel.
role.
That's a tricky. I don't think we know 100% yet, but he definitely has more say than the average head coach.
More than average.
Point is, there's at most right, like 3 or 4 NFL head coaches who are picking
Coach
every.
T does. Tomlin
everything.
does.
You think
Tomlin's
so?
got a good bit of say so in
Really?
it. Yeah, he's got it. I say this if we're speaking about percentages.
He's a
his
loud
say-so-
voice within
yes,
the conversation.
A louder voice. Yes. So
Brian Callahan's not that.
No.
We know that.
And he's a newer coach. I mean, he's only been here one season and
Gotta earn it.
not proven anything.
he does have to earn it.
Mike Vrabel
Yeah.
didn't even earn final person of the
Right.
year.
No, he did not.
Because he
You
kept
are
picking
right.
guys like Aaron Brewer to play for him.
Now he got rid of dudes he ain't like by force sometimes. But so I guess the first question that has to be asked going into this 25 season: what is the goal? That
Win as
to
many
me,
games as possible.
I know, but how? How? And I'm asking this out loud to get to a point to where I want to say,
Yeah.
if your goal is to be back competitive, if your goal is to show this young group of guys, Tavondre, Tajay, JC, how to win football games, then you probably do go get a quarterback out of free agency, because to overspend, which we're going to talk about a little bit later,
Yep.
might not. It seems to me that's not their plan going into free agency. So we might have to set back and say, all right, a baseline has to be set again as it pertains to this season. And it may just mean realistically, like I told you guys before, I knew there were years we weren't going to be Super Bowl contenders. You know that as a coach. You know, boy, when little Jimmy and Tavondre walk out there, you're like, Coach, we need way more than them two. Like, you know that as coaches. So what's the goal of the 25 season? Get to 7 wins? Like, and how to get to those wins. And it's more likely it's going to end up being in my opinion, if that's the goal, it's probably going to end up being a veteran.
It's a good
quarterback.
question.
And it's funny because the goal for Brian Callahan could be way different from the goal from Mike Borgonzi. Because, yes, you always want to win, but I think Callahan feels a little bit more pressure in his certain situation. It's more long-term for Mike Borgonzi because he just got here and he's going to have a little more leeway, but I don't feel like that's the same for Callahan.
I have a hard time putting just a number on it, too, because the offense under an offensive head coach is going to have to make major improvements.
Okay, so let me take you to a place that I know you've gone before. You've talked to high school coaches on Fridays, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or Thursdays.
Sure.
Or preseason. The coaches will tell you, this ain't our year right here. We doing a whole lot of rebuilding. Like,
sometimes.
So my point, though, Kayla, is like the coaches understand where they are as a squad. They just lost, let's say a high school team, they just lost 18 seniors.
Sure.
12 of them starters.
They'll tell you.
Hey, we got some talent, but we're going to get back to it at some point. It might not be this year. That's what I'm saying as far as like, and that's why I also think Callahan may get a mulligan on what last year was too. It's because they know going into this thing is a crap show. So there has to be some plan to just stabilize it first. And I do think that means Callahan gets an opportunity to pick his guy, albeit free agency or Cam or Shedeur.
Sure.
I think it could be both. I honestly think, I don't think Sam Darnold, again, would be the guy, even though he'd really want that guy. But I think there will be both a bridge quarterback, and if they decide to go get their quarterback, that will be the case. If they go with Sam Darnold, I don't think they're drafting a quarterback.
I agree. The Darnold price is going to have to come down into their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to be the kind of deal where they could get out after 2 years if they wanted to, and I think that's possible. There are a lot of people that know a lot more than me about these things, and that's fine. But I just don't think his market is going to be as lucrative as maybe a lot of people think it is. I don't know. I just have this feeling that they're going to be in the mix.
You don't look at Atlanta, and I know it's 1 versus 8. You don't look at Atlanta's model, what they did last year, and say to yourself, it's possible.
I don't even think the Titans are as far along as Atlanta is the problem.
I'm speaking about just the quarterback.
I know.
Yeah.
Right, of like being able to sign a quarterback and then draft another one.
Yeah.
And plus, Atlanta was able to do that because they had, the 8th pick with Penix?
It's 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can afford to use the number 1 pick in a quarterback and sign Sam Darnold when you have so many needs in this roster.
It was new. There's a lot of if and buts in this situation right here. And again, Raheem Moore's been been a new head coach there, got your quarterback. Oh, and then we're gonna go get another one.
And they already had an offensive line. Like that was a good offensive line that Kirk Cousins was going to play behind last year. Atlanta had one of the best offensive lines going into last season. They just didn't have any pass rush, and they still didn't because they drafted Michael Penix instead of, Leatu Latu or Dallas
to that
Turner.
point, to that point, they were planning for the future more than they were for right now.
I think they were trying
for that.
They were trying to pat their head and rub their stomach at the same time, and they couldn't.
I think
figure it
they
out.
tried something that, again, it's such a weird situation. You don't usually go and sign a guy like Kirk Cousins where you assume he's going to be the guy for at least 2 more years there. And then you're just thinking in the back of your mind, well, but we might want to do this. You wonder, too, did they have a little bit of remorse of like, maybe we shouldn't, like, maybe this isn't a long-term situation.
They just wanted to do both at the same time.
The way Kirk fizzled out, though, I think so. Like,
Well,
I think the plan was for it to be 2 years for Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Yeah, to play.
The way that contract was set up.
Which is crazy because he's already 26.
I know. That's what was also weird. I don't know if that's the great model to go by. It worked. It seems like it worked out for them with Penix now being, seems to be ready, but.
I guess my final point on this one is screw the money at this point. It's the way the way you may have to look at it. Because $100 million
sounds like the old Titans, though.
But they're not saying screw the money.
It may be by force that we have to go back to the old Titans, at least for this year.
Right.
Like, I know we're trying to break the mold, but like you might have to go back to that old way again.
The thing is, like, there's nuance to how you can spend the money, right? Like, if you feel like you can get out after 2 years on some deals, then sure, like, you can spend it now. But, like, what are you spending for? Like, what are you using Amy Adams-Strunk's money to do? Go 6-11? Like, are they really motivated to do that? I don't know.
Right.
Q asks on YouTube, have y'all gotten to Charles Davis's list? It's actually not that far out there. We got stuck at the beginning. We did. We were the golden retriever looking at the shiny toy on the other side of the dog park. So we got stuck on the number one part of an interesting conversation where he's got Jackson Dart going third to the New York Giants. I would be very surprised if that happened. I'd be very surprised if that happened. This to me screams like a couple of years ago when we were seeing Malik Willis mocked to the top 3.
Yeah.
And we were seeing Matt Corral mocked to the top 10. There's a screenshot of that of Matt Corral going 6th to the Panthers in the 2021 NFL draft. And that quarterback class is similar to this quarterback class in its lack of depth and lack of top-end elite talent.
Yeah, I'm not going to agree with that.
You know, the only thing I get with Jackson Dart is I get Levis with him. Respectfully, a better version, more efficient. Let me say it like this.
Played a little more ball.
The expectations that he had, they never reached. And when they got Georgia, they did. But this was supposed to be, remember, the multi-million-dollar roster. And
the tricky thing is
playoff
the system differences. Because this is an Art Briles coaching tree system, and at least Levis was in a pro-style system, right?
He was more efficient. And I guess if you want to jump that far to go get Jackson Dart and believe the hype that's behind him right now, you got to be able to tell me there's something super dynamic about him or that he won big. And his biggest win was Georgia, but the entire season and expectation fell way below the line. We saw Lane Kiffin and Surrender Colbert numerous times this past year.
Right.
But y'all, if we're arguing if Shedeur even should be in the top 10, there is no way in hell that Jackson Dart is going number 3 overall.
So that's the thing about this quarterback class in general. That's the biggest issue that you run into for the Titans picking number 1 overall, because the same argument can be made about Jackson Dart and how the fit can work. Shedeur can be the same exact thing made about Cam too. Yeah. That's why when they made that list of 1 through 20 ranking quarterbacks, that's the reason Cam and Shedeur were so far back, because the talent level of expectation is Kenny Pickett.
615-737-1045 is our number. A lot of people come at you when you compare these guys to Kenny Pickett.
Screw that.
I agree with you, though. I think you're right.
It's on them to overcome
people get really,
that.
really just upset about that. But I think you're 100%. I think it's like that draft class.
Yeah.
I really do. 615-737-1045. More of your calls. We'll get to Marcus first up on the phones when we come back. A longtime staple on ESPN is ending. Are you going to miss it? Around the Horn is over. We'll talk about it next. Thursday morning at RKW, brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Wrapping up hour one. Loaded phone line, 615-737-1045. Marcus in Nashville leading us off this morning. Hey, Marcus.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing this morning?
Good,
What's up, man?
Marcus. Good morning.
Man, I tell you, man, just getting out work and listening to y'all talk, you know what I'm saying? And then the thing is, when you were talking about the quarterback a while ago, there's little words that I listen to people say. This person looks like that person. When I hear that, I don't want that person because I want a leader. A leader is not trying to look like somebody. He's not trying to do what somebody already did. He's trying to do what somebody ain't never thought about doing. You know? So this is why I look at it. Somebody's going to be in there with confidence and be a leader. I think Shedeur Sanders will do it. You know, but in a way, I still want his brother. But at the same time,
You do want his brother?
Huh?
You do want his brother, Shiloh?
Not his brother, but you know.
Oh, okay.
Travis Hunter.
Travis.
Yeah. Travis Hunter. Yeah. They all kid folk in some kind of way. But the dude from you was talking about the dude from Minnesota. I don't ever want to see nobody like him back there. Really, I'm gonna tell you why.
You mean Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. Yeah. He pulled a Tannehill last year in the playoffs. And see, when you do that, they don't never come back from that. You know what I'm saying? That mustache got to go or something. I don't know. But I'm just saying, I don't want to be in no playoffs again and somebody do a great year and then start throwing all these picks and acting a fool in a playoff game and then lose the game. That is the worst way to lose, man. And that's the worst way to ever come back. So I was looking like this, man. I need a leader out there. Somebody you can put on the side of the stadium. Somebody with some confidence. Somebody going to sell some tickets. We need some hypeness in Nashville. We've been building up these etch-a-sketch quarterbacks for the longest. We need to shake them off. Shake them off.
Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate the call. I mean, Jalen Hurts got beat 32-9 last year in Tampa in the playoffs. He came back and won the Super Bowl this year. Yeah. So it doesn't always work that way. I'm just trying to get to the playoffs. I can't be choosy about quarterbacks not succeeding in the playoffs. Like, if I'm the Titans, I just want to be playing January football that's not in an empty stadium.
Marcus, I don't want to push back on you because I love when you call in a little bit, though. But you say you don't want nobody to mimic somebody. Kobe mimicked Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, it can work out. It can work out for sure.
Greg is in Rhode Island up next. Hey, Greg.
Good morning, guys. I don't know if you heard Taylor Lewan talking a couple days ago. He's of the opinion that the team actually doesn't have all that many holes to fill. And I actually agree. In my opinion, we need a right tackle. We need linebackers badly, which is something that Kayla has been all over since training camp last year, to your credit. And maybe we need safety help. Other minor issues there. But what do you guys see as the major holes that I'm missing here? And do you disagree with that opinion that we do have, way more holes to fill than what we're seeing here?
Thank you, Greg.
Greg, I'd also say right guard is not figured out yet, too. So I would just say the entire right side as of now, unless they re-sign Dylan Badens, right? But still, that's not a complete solving
it's a hole
problem.
Today.
I would also say the pass rush. And we don't have an idea on what's going to happen with Harold Landry. He was really the only definite pass rusher we could say you could feel more confident in because Arden Key is just so inconsistent. I like Arden when he's good, but he's too inconsistent. And then I just think defensive line, you've got T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons, but you need another interior defensive lineman, and you really need depth no matter what on both lines because you know what has happened during seasons for this team in the past. You did mention safety and linebackers. Let's also speak about wide receiver guys. I think Calvin Ridley is our guy.
So yes, we disagree with Taylor Lewan's point. To answer your question more succinctly,
I was counting that.
I know when Ramon leans back from the mic that he is ready to go off. So
what?
Ramon, I feel as though you disagree with Taylor Lewan's point that we don't have that many holes.
I mess with Taylor the long way. He cool, we cordial as hell when we meet and link up. Hell no, Taylor, you wrong on that one. You want to reel him off?
Yeah, let's go. All right, quarterback. Running back, you're great. You're so good. One position. Wide receiver.
At least two.
You need at least two.
Okay.
You don't have a slot. You don't have a two. And you might not even have Nick Westbrook-Ikine. I would imagine he's back.
We good on tight ends?
Tight ends, I think you need one.
D1. Okay.
At least one.
But that's a little lower on the chart for me.
But still need
It's
a
on the
development.
list.
Chig's on the contract year. Don't catch yourself
It's on the
slipping
list.
again.
Yeah.
Left tackle, maybe, depending on where J.C. Latham's playing.
Depth. Let's just go depth.
You don't need a left guard.
No.
You need a backup center.
Maybe you
You
want
need
to
a
start the
starting right
season.
guard. You need a starting right tackle.
Okay.
On defense, you need at least 2 edge rushers, maybe 3.
Okay.
You need at least 2 defensive linemen.
Okay.
You need at least 2 inside linebackers. You need at least 1 corner. You need a strong
speed up
safety,
now.
and you need backup for Amani Hooker.
Yeah.
Right.
And you need a punter, maybe, because they'll bring
and
back
a
Ryan
kicker.
Stonehouse.
You don't
and
know
I
we're
was
bringing
getting there.
back full.
And a kicker and a long snapper.
Yeah.
Long snapper,
He's got it.
at
He's
least
got
is easy.
both of his
Clayton Boy Morgan's, he goes coming back.
Little stinky feet on the
So,
couch.
they got a
My feet
lot of
never
holes.
stink now. My feet never stink now.
And the
Both his
bigger
hands.
issue is how many elite players are on the roster. Jeffrey Simmons and
and
Ryan Stonehouse.
I would say
Punter.
running back
Colorado
wise,
State.
we got a pretty good deal out of. I'm even drawing a blank now.
Tony Pollard.
Tony
Tony
Pollard.
Pollard. I would
brother.
say he's
I wouldn't say he's elite.
No,
I'd say he's
but-
a good football player.
He's
he's
starting
pretty,
running
pretty
back.
damn solid. Who held a
yeah.
lot of that offense together.
Like, you're paying him, but he's worth what you're paying him. Yes.
We went through like 10 to 15 players right there.
It's a lot.
We're not even talking about the core players, special teamers. Remember?
We didn't even mention a partridge in a pear tree.
No, we need all of that.
615-737-1045. Headlines to begin hour 2 when we come back. Diana Rossini of The Athletic has the trade cost for DK Metcalf, and I think it is absolutely insane what the Seattle Seahawks are looking for. Plus, ESPN canceling a longtime show. Do you care? We'll get to that next as well to start hour 2 after this. 7 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Good morning. I'm Will Bowling. The Tennessee Titans have their first top 30 visit today, as Albert Breer of SI.com is reporting that Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter will be in Nashville today to meet with the Tennessee Titans, adding that in the coming days, Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders and Miami quarterback Cam Ward will also meet with the Titans. Travis Hunter is also scheduled to meet with the team in the coming weeks. Last night on the hardwood, Tennessee falls short in Oxford 78-76 to the Ole Miss Rebels. Senior Jamin Brakefield on senior night for Ole Miss scores 19 points in the second half, including a putback to win inside the final 10 seconds. The Rebels had 11 offensive rebounds in the second half. Elsewhere in the SEC, Florida upsets Alabama 99-94 in Coleman Coliseum. The Gators get 27 points and 10 rebounds from sophomore Alex Condon. They have won 8 of 9. Bama, meanwhile, has dropped 2 in a row, heading into a rematch with Auburn this Saturday. In the NFL, the Los Angeles Chargers released outside linebacker Joey Bosa yesterday. The 2016 number 3 overall pick had 72 career regular season sacks, ranking him second in Chargers history. The Raiders, well, they're keeping their big pass rusher. Max Crosby has a 3-year, $106.5 million contract, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history with an average annual salary of $35.5 million per season. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Brewed by Scooters Coffee for a second hour on this Friday, Junior, a Thursday morning with a full crew in studio. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Justin Hawkins is our producer. You find Scooters Coffee in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. DK Metcalf, once out in Seattle, Seahawks GM John Schneider downplayed it at the NFL Combine, say, well, a lot of big-name guys at every team. There's always that agent talk out there. Well, now it's more than just agent talk. NFL media reporting that the wide receiver wants out. And this morning, Diana Rossini has the price of what the Seahawks are looking for. Good luck with this. They want a first and third-round pick, and DK Metcalf is looking for $30 million per year. I would like to trade for the keys to a Ferrari this morning.
Dang.
On other things that aren't going to happen.
Yeah, that's look, and I'll say the first things first. Man, it was a hard day for Seahawk fan right here. Just seeing Tyler Lockett be released, yeah, and then DK Metcalf. I love the guy, I really do, and I know he brings like the polarizing things, but you kind of love to have that on a team. We see A.J. Brown the way with the Philadelphia Eagles are. He just brings some fun to the team, but I'm sorry, as much as I love DK Metcalf, if you're looking for a first and a third for him, like he's a good wide receiver, guys. He's 27 years old, so he's clearly been in the league for a bit, but he's still got plenty of years to play. That's just too much. I could see maybe even a second and possibly like a fifth, but a first and a second?
Yeah.
First
I just think
and a
that,
third.
Sorry, a first and a third, and thirds are valuable. We all know this because the Titans haven't had one in two years. But yeah, that's just too much, guys.
I'll be honest with you. He's elite. He's definitely one of them. I do think being all the way in Seattle with them not having a quarterback that they've wanted, although he's 8, he has eaten pretty good out there in Seattle. I look at his situation as they drove that price up just to let him know, like, you better come correct. I don't see him getting a first-round draft pick for him. But it will be or should be a contender-type team to go after a guy like him.
Sure. Green Bay, maybe?
Yeah,
Green Bay, maybe.
Green Bay would be an option. I don't see Green Bay giving up a high draft pick for a guy like him. I'd take him in a
not the draft
heartbeat.
developer Tane way, right?
Yeah, I know. I take him in a heartbeat, though. I'll be completely honest with you. He is one of those types of guys to me. I think he's a step away and a couple of more primetime games away from being all-pro at this point.
He's
he
good.
gets it to me. Yeah, always available for the most part,
You'd
too.
love to have him if you had a little bit of room to mess with the money and to give up some draft capital, but I just think any team looks at that and they see a first rounder, and I think they immediately kind of are Homer Simpson backing into the bushes.
Yeah.
He was the last player taken in the second round of the 2019 draft. 6 seasons with 900 or more receiving yards, 3 more with 1,000 plus. If he is traded, DK Metcalf would be at least the 7th wide receiver from the 2019 draft to be traded. Ravens traded Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals. Patriots traded N'Keal Harry to the Bears. The Titans, they traded a receiver named A.J. Brown to the Eagles. The first you're hearing of that, I know. The Jets traded McCole Hardman to the Chiefs, and the Steelers traded Deontay Johnson to the Panthers. Of course, now the 49ers with Deebo Samuel going to Washington. So something about those 2019 draft picks in Nashville at wide receiver, they've all been moved, and DK will be most likely the most recent one.
And they were all
overachieved.
really good, too, yeah.
The challenge will be there is Geno Smith now having to prove that he can make lesser wide receivers better as the money starts to catch up with him and what he's getting. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, his injury history, they will be in the market for a receiver, no doubt, in the draft to reload that. So we'll see.
That 2019 draft, if I'm not mistaken, was the worst year to have a first-round wide receiver. Marquise Brown at 25, and then N'Keal Harry was the 32nd pick.
Tough.
The second rounders.
N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, the second rounders ate. They ate big.
Sure did.
They did. But they overachieved, and those dudes are looking for bags right now. And DK's situation, to me, you get rid of Lockett, new coach who's defensive-minded. He's trying to go win. I don't blame him. I'd ask for a trade, too. His situation is what I thought Jeff would go into this year. As far
Jeffrey
as
Simmons,
Jeffrey Simmons, asking for trades because, look, you see the future ain't as bright that you want it to be, and you move up in age. Kayla, you mentioned he's 27. I think is relatively young.
It is, absolutely.
But when
and
you
the way
look
he
at,
takes care of his body.
You look at the career and the planning to try to go win big. Like, Seattle right now doesn't look very promising for a wide receiver like him.
And they don't know who their quarterback of the future is going to be. You're right, because Geno is, I mean, he's more on his way out at some point than, long term, he's going to be there. So, yeah, I mean, when you see all your parts around you going, it's like, okay, I don't know if I want to be here either if they're not going to get me a deal. $18 million, he has 1 year left on his contract, I think about worth $18 million. But we're seeing what wide receivers are getting now. I mean, it's almost like doubled. It's crazy.
It's fascinating looking back at this class, too. Just real quick, it's 2 names I have no idea who they are. And they're first rounders,
He's getting in the
Let
weeds.
me guess, Cleveland Farrell?
Yeah, could be one of them.
Raiders. That was a Mike Mayock pick, wasn't it? No, they were.
Was that it?
I don't think he was.
I think it was.
No, I don't think he was the GM yet. Or what? No, yeah, he was. He was. That was a Mike Mayock pick because that was Daniel Jeremiah's first year being on the desk with Charles, because I shadowed as a Tennessee journalism student. That was my senior year of college. And I shadowed Charles the whole day before the draft.
Yeah.
And yeah, they went with Cleveland Farrell out of Clemson, and everyone was like, "Huh,
what?"
And it did not work.
It's wild.
But it was very Raider. That's what the Raiders do. The Raiders don't care what draft boards say and what the court of public opinion is. They do the weird thing commonly.
Also, the Nashville draft, that one was, too,
Yeah, it was.
by the way.
That's why I remember it so vividly.
I got 2 names for you. You're usually good at these with the Immaculate Grid. Jerry Tillery.
Jerry Tillery. Yeah, that
Jerry
one's tough,
Tillery.
man. He did not pan out.
28th overall pick. He's a D tackle out of Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, that's right. Yep.
Another one, L.J. Collier.
Couldn't tell you.
Where is that?
Couldn't tell
You should know. I ain't gonna say you should know this one, but defensive end to Seattle Seahawks out of TCU.
That's why I wouldn't know,
Frog.
because a lot of some of their draft picks, y'all, in the past, I was like, what?
There you go.
I'm not trying to say I am trying to say this. The draft is a crapshoot.
It really
These
is.
dudes are first rounders, and nobody knows who the heck they are.
And then there's some first
Respectfully.
rounders that go on to be Hall of Famers.
Yeah. It's,
Not all drafts are created equally.
no, they're not.
No.
Not all quarterback drafts are created equally, as we're learning this year.
I had too much fun here in Nashville for the draft.
That was a good year. That was fun.
At ESPN, Around the Horn has been canceled after a 23-year run, premiering in November 2002. Tony Reale has been the host since 2004. It has had more than 4,900 episodes.
Jeez.
And will air for the last time on May 23rd, replaced for an extra half hour of SportsCenter. Will you miss Around the Horn?
I will.
I
liked
will
it.
absolutely miss it.
I liked it.
I think it is the best of ESPN, man.
It was.
I really do.
They got an opportunity to, I'll say this respectfully, like when the way they did that show with their opinions and how they sparred back and forth and stuff like that, it felt like radio TV. Like
Yeah.
when they do Sports
It
Center,
did.
it's like a program.
Well, a lot of their
It's like a program.
panelists weren't TV people. They were
That's
either
true, too.
they were either
Columnists.
writers or columnists, right? Or had something else that was their background, but usually not TV first
Man,
personalities.
watching Bomani on there, that's why I became Bomani
Bomani
Jones.
Jones, yeah.
I became a huge fan of Bomani
Somebody
Jones.
said on
Woody?
Twitter the other day, Woody Page, Vol,
Woody
VFX,
Page, yeah.
said the Woody Page and Jay Mariotti rivalry, the real ones, remember. And,
Dude, it was good.
I'm surprised just because, and this is only because I've watched what ESPN has done over the years and how many things they've changed up or canceled or gotten rid of. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did, if you want my honest opinion.
Because it was good.
But clearly it had a good run. And I won't completely miss it. I don't have time necessarily to watch it all the time now. But I do think it was a really good show in terms of the content and having the argumentative side.
Oh, my.
It was argumentative without being annoying, because
Yeah.
I'm annoyed
Well,
sometimes
it's because he
by
also
those
muted
shows.
folks, too.
Exactly.
They were talking over each
you had
other.
the ability to mute. Yeah, exactly. So good run though.
It was a
good
real
run.
good run.
Around the Horn and PTI are still fantastic. Both of them.
Yeah.
PTI has stood the test of time, and
Yep.
Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser are.
Yeah, they're the best. I
They're
love
still the fundamentals of what makes sports programming work. Of just back and forth, fast moving, 30 minutes, headlines, quick reaction, go to the next one. I really like Tony Reali. I'm a Tony Reali fan. He seems like one of those genuine people in broadcasting, and you hear a lot of people talk about how good of a dude he is. And I thought he was the core of what made that show really good. So
No doubt.
I'll miss it, to be honest with you. I don't think we need an extra half hour of SportsCenter. I like the different
Right.
nuance to it. So.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't always want to hear just reading highlights. Like, it's kind of like, whatever. I
You
can
don't
go
get as
online
many
and get
highlights
it.
on those shows anymore either.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, Albert Beer just put out a tweet. Did you guys see that a little bit ago, about an hour ago?
No.
Kicking off 30 visits today, hosting edge rusher Abdul Carter.
I read that at the top of the hour for my update.
Yeah, I did not hear that. I was getting coffee.
Yep.
And by the way, the coffee again, very good.
Caramelicious.
Very good. Very
Caramelicious
tasty.
definition. Making
Somebody drank the
coffee
first
go
pot,
loco.
so I had to make another one.
good.
People
It's
love our
good.
coffee around here, I guess.
I'm just glad the people in this building are not pouring it out. They're drinking it. Sometimes when
God.
we make better coffee than what these people are used to, and I will say these people because I know them,
These
and they're all
people.
in the building. They get rid of it,
That's true.
but
You
they like the
cannot do
caramel,
that.
which tells you that not just this show is enjoying the Scooters coffee in the building. So.
And it makes the whole break room smell caramelicious. You see
When I
what
walked
did?
in the building today, it smelled like caramel in here. It was
You're welcome.
fantastic.
You're welcome.
Exactly.
I made the first pot. I don't have to brag on me. I'll brag on myself.
Coming up next, Titans Radio's head coach, Coach Dave Mcginness, will hit some of the NFL free agency headlines. Talk about Sam Darnold as well with Coach Mack after this.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Right now, man, they have a deal going on. I feel special, okay, because it is a special deal, and they somewhat named it after me. It's the Behind the Lines offer, okay, where there's a $37 consultation, and that includes a doctor's visit, x-rays if you need them, and your first treatment. And if you need more in-depth treatment, because you're part of the Zone family, guess what? They'll give you 50% off spinal decompression treatment. I've had it myself. I've enjoyed it. My back and neck feels a whole lot better because of it, all right? That's because Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley just want you to get better. Listen, it's not just for athletes. It's for your everyday person, man. Albeit it might be for, the mom, the auntie, the dad, the uncle that just have those ongoing back issues, man, and you say to yourself, well, I didn't play sports. No, it doesn't have to be that. Your spine, I promise you, all those nerves go up and down, and it's one of those things where you want to get that space back in between it by getting on that state-of-the-art decompression machine. Or like I did the zero gravity machine too. They will find the best strategy to get you better fast. And they don't want to just keep you there. They want to get you out, get you back to your best. So start your road to a pain-free life. And yes, it is possible. Call today, the Wellness Institute of Nashville at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone with locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling, joined by Titans Radio's head coach, Coach Mac, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Mac, what's going on? Good morning.
Hey, Will, Kayla, Moan, going good.
What's up, Mac?
Drove my Two Rivers Ford up and back from Indy, so
Nice.
we're ready to roll.
Ready to roll for sure. Well, it looks like, Mac, the Titans are ready to roll with top 30 visits. Albert Breer saying Abdul Carter gets the party started today. What are these visits like, Mac? What does a normal day look like when a prospect visits in person? Because I know there's a lot that goes into this.
Well, there is, and they've got it very well planned out because you've got a schedule that you want to put these guys on, and depending on what the position is, there's a definite thing that you do when they come in as far as who they meet with, how they meet with them, when they meet with them, the order that they meet with people. And it's not only the coaches. It's when you're talking about, these players of this level that will be first-round picks, and everybody, the first four that they're having in are definitely going to be first-round picks. You want them to meet everybody in the building they're going to touch. I mean, and it's very, very important. Now, their meetings with the coaches are divided up between with the coordinators. Then they go to the position coaches. Their meetings with the front office is extremely important. But as I just mentioned, the meetings with the other people around the building are important too. But bringing in Abdul Carter first, your edge rushers are a little bit different when you bring those guys in as far as what you put them through on the board, because a lot of the thing with the defensive players, especially the edge rushers, what you want to do is get their ideas and views. You got some point of attack tapes that you will watch with them. There's a dinner that they'll go to when they come in here with certain parties that they'll be invited with. You just want to get to know the person. When you start bringing these quarterbacks in, then their meetings are a little bit different because the people that they meet with are going to be different, and the flow of what you talk to them about football-wise are going to be different too. So all four of these guys, the two quarterbacks will have similar types of meeting schedules. The other two will be kind of on a different schedule, but they touch every base when they're into your place for these meetings.
Coach Mac at Titans Radio with us. So, Mac, is there more kind of whiteboard time, so to speak, for quarterbacks? What makes those visits so much more different from some of the other positions?
Well, what you do is you'll go over with the quarterbacks. What we always did wherever I was when we were involved. Let's talk about a quarterback in the first round. Which I was involved with. Especially at the Rams when we traded up and we were considering between Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. You want these guys. You will give them. Some of you'll do some install with them early on in the meeting, and then let them progress through the day. Leave that, progress through the day, and then bring them back to see what their recall is. I don't know how much in depth they will go with. I mean, when we had those two guys at the Rams, when we had the number one pick, we traded with the Titans for it. We had Goff and Wentz. I mean, on the separate times that they were in visiting. I mean, we were in a hotel in Oxnard because we had moved from St. Louis, but we cleared a ballroom, and we would have. We would have coaches stand in and give them a play, and then the coaches would be the defense that would move, and then they would point to where the route was, who they're going to throw to. You want to get into depth with these quarterbacks, a lot different. You don't have a lot of time in those 18-minute meetings at the combine to do this, so you dig deep into the quarterback part of it. That was a different part of it. When we brought Aaron Donald in. Basically, the defensive line coach broke into our meetings that we were having and said, "Look, I don't care who you have up there on the board. This is the best player on the draft. We need to take him," and walked out of the door. That was about his meeting.
Wow.
So anyway, it's different.
Coach Mac, when you have these in-person meetings where you spend all day with them, these players and prospects from the quarterbacks all the way down to the safeties, right, on both sides of the ball, they're prepped, and you understand they're prepped too. How quickly can you break that shield down to actually understand who that player is? Because there's one conversation that's been had about the 2020 draft. Nobody was able to see them in person. So, Coach Mac, when y'all do see them in person, About how long does it take you guys to break them down and get the real them?
So it's an ongoing process, Ramon. I mean, it starts way back, last year and last spring when the area scout goes through there. You try to get as much of that background as you can, and then look. Well, you guys saw it. I mean, I was in the Lucas Oil, every day, and I saw even the quarterbacks those two quarterbacks that didn't work. The coaches that were down there on the floor, they were spending a lot of time with them. I mean, you try to spend as much time with them. I mean, it's an ongoing, it's an ongoing process, but it's not just immediately. I mean, that's why you go through and you have it planned out very, very well as far as the way that you're going to approach these guys and their day. You want the day to be as relaxed, as, if I can say that, as it can be, so that you can start to get to know the person. But also, it's very, very well thought out and very well planned out strategically as to how you want to approach these guys and the order that you're going to talk to them in. And that's the reason also, Ramon, that you want everybody to be exposed to them, because you know as well as I do, you can when you come into a job interview, basically as to what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're just there for a short amount of time, sometimes you can put on a face or a front, but if you're there all day, and if you go to a dinner, if you go to a meal, if you have them around other people, sooner or later, who they really are is going to come out, and that's what you're trying to service and find out. So it's not just an immediate time. And plus, look, both of these guys, both the quarterbacks that come in and also the other guys, they're also going to go to their school workouts. Mm-hmm. And when you go to their school workouts, you can carve out a lot of time to spend with them at the school too. So this is just the beginning part of this process. It really began. It starts at the All-Star games, and neither one of these guys, played. Now Shedeur was at the East-West game, but that's when it starts. But it's an ongoing process, Ramon. It's not just this is part of the process. It's a big part of it because you're bringing them into your home now, your place. But the decisions are it's an ongoing, thoughtful thing that you do up until the draft.
Coach Mack, I want to talk to you about some of the prospects, but I kind of want to stay in this lane right here where we're talking about the personal side and the pre-draft side. So if we can stay here for a second, Coach Mack.
Ramon, you can do whatever you want. It's your show.
I know. That's what they say. That's
Your
what they
name's
say.
First.
Yeah, that's what they say, Coach Mack. I just like to preface and continue the conversation.
All right, let's go.
With that being said, Coach Mack, we hear about guys sliding in the draft. We've heard Luther Burden, right? We've heard of James Pierce. In years past, there's been other guys that have fallen because of non-football issues. Coach Mack, without giving too much or as much as you can give, why is it important for those coaches and people that have been around these players to actually tell the truth, even though it may hurt those players too? Because you probably say to yourself, well, a lot of people are asking the question, well, what's wrong with James Pierce or what's wrong with Luther Burden or anybody else, Coach Mack? But there's a business of honesty that college coaches, personnel have to have with the NFL when it comes down to a lot of stuff we will not know about in this pre-draft. Why is that important? For the parents that may have kids,
that's why, the relationship that your staff has and the experience that your staff has is extremely, extremely important, because those types of things, and it all goes to the relationships that you form. Look, I'm just telling you, there are things that I could find out, in my 5th and 7th and 10th and 20th and 30th year in the league that I couldn't find out in my first year in the league. Just talking to coaches or talking to people that were around them where they came from. You've got to develop that trust. That trust is a two-way street. And here's the other thing. You've got to be very careful about who you talk to, because, and let's just be honest. In this type of situation, some people are what we call pollinators. They're like bees. They like to go from flower to flower, just doing anything just to give out information just so they can feel important. You want to know who the legitimate people are that you can listen to, that you can trust, that know that it's very, very important to not only tell the truth for the moment, but to be able to tell the truth to build some trustworthiness throughout their careers. That's extremely important to know. It's a great, insightful question, because
not everybody will tell you the truth, but also not everybody has enough experience and enough contacts and have touched enough bases through the years they've been in this league to be able to have people tell them the truth and trust that, and they can trust you that it only stays with you and you're only doing it in the best interest of the player so that you can make a decision, not only for your organization, but what's the real best interest of the player also. That too is something that you develop over the years. It's not just, that's why I don't listen to, I listen to a few people. You know how much when I'm at that combine, the number of meetings and people that I talk to, and it's a very select few, because some people just want to impress you telling stories so that they can seem important. You got to find out the people that really know what's going on.
Whole lot of politicking, Mac.
That's
Whole
facts
lot of
right there, Mac. Coach Mac joining us this morning on RKW. So shoot us the facts straight on this situation. When it comes to the offensive line, obviously the Titans still looking on that right side, specifically right tackle, Coach. What can we look at in terms of maybe late first round? And obviously the Titans have a second round pick that
That's not
names.
late first round, but I'm glad you asked that, because I was there, from whenever the Lucas Oil opened until the last person worked out and talking. I liked watching the bigs work. There are offensive. Look, this is not a premier tackle. I'm talking about everybody spoiled from last year with the number of tackles that were legitimately there. And the top tackles, Mimbu, stands out. Will Campbell, people are still going to decide. He's a really good player. He's a really good foot athlete. They're going to decide whether he's outside or inside. Let's get that Kelvin Banks from Texas. I think Josh Simmons from Ohio State. Let's go down, though, to the people you're talking about. I'll tell you who really helped himself. Anthony Belton from North Carolina State really helped himself on the floor of Lucas Oil Stadium. He worked out well. He moved well, 6'6", 336 pounds. And he looked – we talked when we were on the OTP with Ramon and Amy Wells and Rhett Bryan and I. When we talked to Daniel Jeremiah, I asked him pointedly, I said, the belly of this draft is where a lot of the strength is this year, and he agreed. He said it's about from pick 26 to about pick 70. You can find a tackle. Anthony Belton is one of those guys. We liked him at the Senior Bowl. He really helped himself at the Combine. The other tackle, there's a tackle at Kansas named Logan Brown. You need to start looking at him a little bit. Because he kind of surprised me. He's a solid day 3 prospect to me, but he surprised me the way that he moved around there. Ariante Ursery, there's not many humans walking the earth that look like this, and he did a nice job. The big kid from Minnesota there, again, here's a 6'6", 331-pounder who's got, really long arms, ran a 5.01 40. I mean, that's a big human running. Now, probably the last 40 he's ever going to run in his life, but his movement skills with what they did down there on the floor, I like what he did. Where are you going to play Donovan Jackson from Ohio State? Is he a guard? Is he an offensive tackle? There are some names. Don't think that there aren't offensive linemen. There are bigs in this draft. They're going to play that are going to play pretty quick. That Savanea kid from Arizona. Everybody, he played tackle. Everybody believes he'll move into a guard. Titans need a guard, too, with a big body in there. So there's some people. And I really enjoyed watching those bigs work because, perceptions and the thing that's out there, especially with the tackles this year, because of what happened last year, just an immense amount of them. It was a great year to get a first-round tackle. This year, the belly of the draft, you're going to find some offensive linemen.
Coach, in saying that, my first part of the question is, would one of those guys be able to be a starter from the jump? And my second question is, do you still feel like you got to go out and get a veteran lineman? Also, just in terms of the leadership, I know that Lloyd Cushenberry is a big leader, but just to have some more leadership on that line?
No, look, you've got guys that were growing into leadership last year. I mean, but to me, they said that they were going to be very judicious this year with free agency. you could look if somebody really comes available that Bill Callahan likes that you could fit and you could plug in. You absolutely always look at that. But when you start looking at free agency, which the Titans went heavy into free agents last year because they had to put a football team together. Now they're trying to build a football team. I wouldn't rule out being able to go get an offensive lineman in free agency, but you still got to start developing some younger players. And can they start from the jump? I mean, we've had two that have come in here in the last 2 years that have started from the jump. So can you do it? You absolutely can do it.
Coach Dave Mcginness, presented by Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, when you look at the top of this draft at tackle, is Will Campbell a tackle for you on your board, or is the arm length going to not downgrade him? I'm sorry, Ramon. Is the arm length going to change him into guard?
Will, I'm glad you said I'm sorry because that's very disrespectful.
I thought about it. I made a better choice, Mac.
Tell him, Mac.
I'm coachable.
Downgrade him to guard.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, I understand. I understand the question, and of course, it's about arm length. But you watch him move, and again, that's why I love sitting in Lucas Oil and watching all of these people work throughout the week.
Yeah.
You watch him move. I mean, he's got tackle feet. He really does. Yeah, good movement. Now, his arms measured shorter. And the reason the arm length is such a big deal is when you're at guard, that center guard triangle, which is extremely important. At least when you're talking about blocking and with people, you're working in a populated environment. Does that make sense? You got a populated environment in that center guard triangle. That arm length, especially out there on the edge, a lot of times it's the rusher, and it's air, and so that's where it's extremely important. I think most people. Just in talking with him, most people are going to start him out at tackle, and then if it's not his deal, they know that they've got a ready-made guard.
Yeah, he is Coach Dave Mcginness. Coach Mack with us Thursday mornings at 7:20 here on the show. Mac, always good to hear from you, sir. Appreciate you,
Mac.
Coach.
Guys, it's always my pleasure. I'm glad to be back from Indy. See you.
Yes, sir. There he is. Mac Across America Tour continues this offseason. Made a stop in Indianapolis. Great insight. And I think good news for the Titans that they could find a tackle in the second round.
That'd be huge. And then you just wish, if you did trade down, I do like that too, because you could get a third rounder and then maybe go get your wide receiver, because we all know value can still be at that spot.
It is.
That's a feather in the Sam Darnold and trade down cap.
Yeah, that's a perk of it.
Get your tackle in the second, go get your receiver in the third, or a linebacker or safety. We can go shopping. Man, let's go shopping.
Let's go shopping.
I want more money in my my pocket to go shopping. 615-737-1045. We've got an update on the T. Higgins saga from Cincinnati, the highest paid non-quarterback of the NFL. Lots of news to get to in the NFL we've not even talked about yet, and we will do that next.
When couples walk into Genesis Diamonds, their eyes get so big. It's a mind-blowing display of sparkling jewelry with literally thousands of choices when it comes to engagement rings. All styles she's seen online are right there, though. But the experts at Genesis make them feel totally at ease. They're offered a beverage. They're asked a lot of questions about their taste and style. They are given a no-holds-barred education. They are even told the secrets of the jewelry business, too. The consultants at Genesis are not on commission. They are not retail clerks, and they are not transaction focused. They can spend 30 minutes with you or 3 hours with you. It doesn't matter. You can see dozens and dozens of diamonds in an array of sizes and shapes and color grades. You can see handcrafted rings from all the top designers that other jewelry stores can't even carry. You can see the difference between a diamond that is properly cut and one you might see at one of those online places. The difference will blow you away. Bottom line, Genesis will take away all the risks, all the mystery, all the confusion to help you make a decision that you will be confident in for years to come. Genesis Diamonds, a true direct importer with rock-bottom prices and a luxury experience, and no compromises either. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone with locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. 615-737-1045. Sam Monson of the 33rd team coming up. Going to talk some NFL draft and Titans headlines in about a half hour. The Athletics' Diana Rossini reporting this morning that multiple teams have contacted the Bengals about the availability of T. Higgins after Cincinnati placed the franchise tag on him Monday. She adds they have been told the wide receiver remains unavailable as the Bengals continue to pursue a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's in their best interest. They got to appease to Joe Burrow at this point right
I'll
now.
believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
But have they even spoke about Jamar Chase and trying to get his deal, which they probably should have done last year?
Yeah, they have. I
Yeah,
mean, they'll.
I feel that's where the money's at in terms of how much they're going to dish out.
Because Max Crosby has now set the non-quarterback market
Yeah.
to where now his $35.5 million is the floor for Jamar Chase.
It is easily at this point right now. It also screwed up my squad with TJ Watt. They got to pay him too. Golly. With that being said, I know. No, it's just price of doing
true.
business.
He'll get
Raiders-
36 now.
The thing that becomes just slightly problematic for me is this. T. Higgins signing with Jamar Chase agent.
Oh, I forgot about that. You brought that up the other day.
That happened right there. And that's where you want to get a 2-for-1 with both of those guys, but it becomes very complicated on how they're going to end up doing that deal, though, too.
Yeah.
And that's where, I think it makes sense. Hey, you can't get him without him. And while I'm talking to you about Jamar, I'm talking to you about T. So it could work out for him in a sense. It's just that you never seen two guys on the same team having the same agent represent them at such a premium. Like Marquise and I had the same agent. We actually got a deal done at the exact same time. But it for wide receivers, with the numbers that T wants as a number one, you think T wants to be a number one paid wide receiver?
Yes.
Oh,
Very
of
much
course.
so. But he can't be on that squad.
Right.
So it sucks for him to try to figure that thing out right there. T might just have to sit.
He's stuck, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you got teams that are obviously inquiring about you, though, that could potentially make you a number one wide receiver. Because I do believe in some teams he could be the number one guy. It's just he's in a situation right now where Jamar Chase is the guy. Like he is clearly the number one. By the way, it's so interesting you said about the agent that's both their representatives. And then, those guys need deals, and so does Trey Hendrickson. Like if they're planning on, keeping a key piece to their defense, which was Cheeks last year, you also got to pay that guy.
Best thing that happened for them was Sam Hubbard retiring.
I know. I saw that. It stayed about $9
So
million.
the leverage goes back to him. This is where Cincinnati, honestly, I said this, I felt like a couple of weeks ago, like it's hard being good in the NFL. Because when you're good, you got to balance and go through cap gymnastic to make it all work to stay competitive again. They got the franchise quarterback. They got pieces on defense, but it's hard staying good in the NFL because of this.
If I'm Cincy, I'm trading him.
Yeah.
Easily.
I don't think you're wrong, Will, in that. And I'd love to have him as a second piece for Joe Burrow. No, for Joe Burrow. I mean, that's like luxury. But unfortunately, it's very rare. And I feel like they could probably get a little bit more out of that situation because he could be a one somewhere else.
Good teams don't pay two receivers a total of $60 million a year. And that's what it's going to cost for them to keep him.
At that
Like,
spot.
who's paying two receivers the most amount of money for their 1 and 2?
Philly.
Yeah.
But Devontae Smith's on a rookie deal.
Devontae got his
He
big
got
deal.
another.
Did he really?
He got
he got
375.
another one.
Even
Again,
still.
25.
Yeah,
though.
Philly's paying the most.
Yeah.
Philly has a second-tier quarterback.
Yeah.
The Bengals have a first-tier quarterback. You don't need to pay $60 million a year for receivers when you have Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow can take somebody else's 3 and make them a 2. Like, if I'm Cincy, like, I'm telling Joe, like, buddy, like, you want to be considered in the Josh Allen, Mahomes world? Those guys lost their top receivers, and they turned other guys into good receivers.
Strikeouts on the draft, too. Jermaine Burton crashed out for him.
He did.
Yeah.
Andre Yosevich seems like a good pick for where
agree.
he was selected. He was a day 3 guy, round 4 or 5.
And he was their 3 last year, right? If you think about it.
Yeah, he was the Tyler Boyd replacement for Cincy, but they don't need both, in my opinion. I know
I'm
they're
with you.
worse without T than they are with him, and that's fine. But They need that money for their defense.
Yeah, it's like Cincinnati, like driving the luxury car, but they're not really the luxury team.
Yeah.
They got,
Because they're cheap.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's the cheapest ownership group in the NFL, isn't it?
It is. And they've also, I'm pretty sure.
And they are
about that.
consistently the bottom of NFLPA surveys. They consistently won't pay big money up front to keep their own guys. They walk across the street down the streets of Cincinnati and go to their facility. Like, the Bengals are cheap. They always have been.
And their front office has missed pretty good on the draft picks as of late, too, because the other thing is this, too. If I told you Charlie Jones was a 4th-round draft pick for them in 2022, what would you say about 2023?
I'd say
at wide receiver. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Josivas, I think that you just said a second ago. Princeton. He's more productive than him, so they've struck out. One thing, I know Howard Roseman rubbed people the wrong way out of Philadelphia, but he hits.
Yep.
Like right now, they're thriving with those contracts. I think I sent it to our group chat yesterday. They're thriving with these contracts by signing Bond back yesterday too. The all-pro linebacker, Zach Bond. And they're in a spot right now to be able to do that because they have hit home runs on what their type of player is on defense, young guys.
And they can get rid of Bradbury and Slay on defense because they drafted Quinyon Mitchell and they drafted Cooper DeJean.
And let Sweat walk.
Right.
Because they're probably going to draft James Pierce this year.
Honestly.
Exactly. I mean,
seriously.
they're on it. They're on it. Yeah. The thing is they're always in front of it. And that is so rare in the NFL, I feel like sometimes. They're in front of it while Cincinnati Bengals are on the complete opposite side. They're always trying to play catch up to their situations and decision making.
So, they might have to get rid of T. That's probably the best business decision they're going to have to make moving forward this offseason.
Because they got a chance to still get something for him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Especially with this wide receiver market, Will.
It's how you do good business.
It is.
And Cincinnati rarely does good business because they're cheap.
Because here's the other pro tip, too. The top 16 teams cut a check to the bottom 16 teams in the NFL, too.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I think them going to the Super Bowl with Joe Burrow that early is probably one of the bigger mistakes they could have made because
it put so much.
Going to the Super Bowl was a mistake.
Yes,
I think it was just hard to live up to that. They were going to keep doing that
because
I want to go to the Super Bowl.
I want to go. I wanted to go back too.
I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
Like it's like they set themselves up for this high bar so
it's the cost
early,
of being good.
right? And then it's like you couldn't get back there.
I'd rather be good and have those problems though than be 3-14 and be deciding between Will Levis, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, or a rookie quarterback, drafting a quarterback at number 1 that I don't love.
Don't do this, Will.
I'd rather have T. Higgins problems than
we felt
Will
good
Levis
about
problems.
bombing on the Bengals for the segment.
I know. Don't do this. We can.
It's like when your lawn's not very nice, you look down the road. Well, at least their neighbor's lawn stinks.
Exactly.
I've got patches. They just got brown.
Hey, get a lawnmower.
I know. Unfortunately, the Titans are the one with the brown lawn, and the Bengals got some patches of green at least.
Yeah.
Man, I was talking to Roberto over there in the room, man.
You mean Bert?
Who?
Oh,
Never heard
that's
of
right.
How's Bart doing?
The Bart's doing all right, I think, man, for the most part.
Bart.
But he brought up Stoney Keeley had brought up a conversational tweet about who are the Titans, to your point, foundational pieces. Mm-hmm. You might have 4.
The reason why I'm not saying anything is because there aren't any. No, I'm kidding. I mean, there are a couple.
There are.
J.C. Latham's got to take a step forward. He can be in that conversation.
Devondre Sweat, I think, could be that.
Sweat. I mean, you got
a lot of unproven young rookies that are stepping into leadership roles next year to prove that they are foundational pieces.
Jarvis Brownlee,
maybe
he could be a dude.
He had one decent season.
Yeah, and he was thrusted into that starting spot, that's for sure.
Got to do it again.
Bart is such a way better name for Bert.
615-737-1045. Hour 3 next. Cameron Wolf of NFL Media says the Titans are in the market for one of the top free agents, a name that we have not discussed a lot on defense. And we'll talk about that next. 8 a.m. in the Music City. Good morning for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Will Bowling. The visits are beginning for the Tennessee Titans as they survey their options in the NFL Draft. Albert Breer of SI.com reports this morning that Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter will be in Nashville to meet with the Titans today. He is the first player to visit with the team, who is also scheduling meetings with Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Travis Hunter in the coming days and weeks. Last night on the hardwood, Tennessee basketball falls short in Oxford to Ole Miss, 78-76. Jamin Brakefield, the main man for Ole Miss in the second half, scoring all 19 of his points in the second 20 minutes, including a putback to win inside the final 10 seconds. The Rebels had 11 offensive rebounds in the second half alone. Elsewhere in the SEC, Florida upsets Alabama 99-94 in Coleman Coliseum on the Tide's senior night. The Gators got 27 points and 10 boards from sophomore Alex Condon. In the NFL, the Chargers released outside linebacker Joey Bosa yesterday. The 29-year-old, who was selected number 3 overall in the 2016 draft, has 72 career regular season sacks, ranking him second in Chargers history. And the Raiders, they rewarded Max Crosby with a new deal yesterday. 3 years, $106.5 million. That makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, with an average annual salary of $35.5 million per year. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Second half of the show, brewed up by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Visit your local Middle Tennessee Scooters locations in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Scooters, amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. 615-737-1045 is our number. A week away from NFL free agency, we have got a big-time name that has been linked to the Tennessee Titans. NFL Media's Cameron Wolf is reporting that Miami Dolphins safety Javon Holland is a team the Titans are expected to be in the mix for. Says there are more, but Panthers and Titans are the top two.
Should be good.
Not everyone all at once. Interesting. Second-round pick out of Oregon in 2021. One of the 5 highest-graded safeties, according to Pro Football Focus, in 2 of his first 3 seasons in the league. Had a career low grade from PFF last year of 63, but one of the best safeties over the last 3-4 seasons of the NFL.
He has been steady, been available, too, for the most part over his career, man. Again, it's one of those positions, too, at safety. Knowing that you have this. You have Cheeto. What was it, right? You have him, you have L'Jarius Sneed. Being able to back up the back side of this defense would do numbers, okay, for the rush up front if you did go out and get somebody else. We also got to remember, too, like, this may be a big play to be made to be able to keep Harold Landry if he doesn't find a trade partner himself. Rush and coverage works together in these types of situations. He is a proven commodity, but he's another guy also, like you said, Will had a little bit of a skid last year, too, in Miami. I will throw this caveat in there. Bad teams make good players bad, too. They had a whole lot of issues last year as far as Miami and their coaching wins and losses and stuff like that. A lot of instability. That creates, in a bad season for a guy like him, bad play, too. So do you want a guy like his who's young enough that's able to come in and somewhat help solidify what I think is the best side of the ball for this team, the defense? That is a good plan to me. He just turned 25. One of those types of guys that you want in your squad. At safety, that's not one of those positions unless somebody comes out and got broke off. I was talking to Bart Walsh over there a second ago. Unless, like, you have Kyle, what's his name? Kyle Hamilton. Get broke off, then the market should stay the same as far as money being poured out to safeties. Again, I don't know if you want to be in the business of resetting the market with Javon Holland, but he's going to cost. Are you willing to give up $12 to $15 million a year for a starting safety in the NFL?
Yeah, and this is really, if you truly think about it, this has been a Titans need for the past couple of seasons. Last year, we spoke about filling this role. We even spoke about Justin Simmons maybe being one of the top candidates, but he waited out for a while because we knew he was going to get the top end money for the safety market at that point. And he did that and eventually signed with the Atlanta Falcons, which, by the way, I think he was on a 1-year deal, right? I think he might be.
I'm not sure on that one.
Maybe not. I don't know where I read that, but I'll look on that in a second.
He was 1 year, $7.5 million.
So my point being with that is you're right. The market for safeties is not always crazy. Like, it's not like you're going to pay like a big amount of dollars. And they look to be putting maybe this off in terms of drafting a guy again, and maybe just going and finding some value in a dude like Javon Holland. But also, they went and got Quandre Diggs last year. And honestly, if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, I think he would have gotten massive value out of that year contract. So, and he's a free agent this year as well. So I don't think they'll bring him back, but there is also a possibility that you could.
Real quick, the market for the highest paid safeties is Antoine Whitfield Jr. at $84 million overall, $21 million average.
So Spot Track estimates Javon Holland will get $15 a year.
$15 a year.
Okay.
I would be surprised if the Titans did that.
That's still a lot.
I would be surprised. So we're going to get into this piece from Nick Suss of the Tennessean coming up in hour 4 about who the Titans are looking to emulate. In the piece, it talks about how Washington last season made a ton of small moves for the same price of 2 moves the Titans made. And Chad Brinker is quoted in this saying, I don't know that they spent more than $10 million per year on one player. It's interesting when you start studying the strategies of these teams that have kind of climbed out of a situation like ours. You're going to have to spend more than $10 million a year on Javon Holland.
Sure.
I would be surprised if they're doing that at a non-premium position, considering where they are in this rebuild, to be honest with you.
It's just the one part about that, though, Will, is there is not a ton of options right now of where you go and get help at safety. And maybe they, like I said, re-sign some of their guys or bring back some of these names that aren't as prominent. But I don't even know without having that 3rd round pick right now, there's just not a lot of ways to do it because they need so many things. That's just such a hole because you like a wide receiver maybe. You'd like a safety maybe in that spot. And you have to go get your right tackle probably in the 2nd round. I'm not saying you have to, but that's probably the best way to do it. So it is kind of leaving you with your hands tied behind your back a bit.
There are safeties out there. You got Justin Reed, Justin Simmons, Rayshon Jenkins is 31. He's played 8 years leaving Seattle. Jeremy Chin in Washington, Julian Blackmon at Indy, Quandre Diggs, who you mentioned. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
If Diggs wants to come back, I honestly, if he's on the right track with his health, I'd bring him back.
How old is Diggs going to be?
He's older.
He's 32, just turned 32 in January.
But we just labeled all these other guys that are older, too.
This is the reason
I'm just
why.
asking the question. Yeah.
This is why trading back is such a popular choice for the Titans.
Yeah, because they just need, and they've been looking for safety for a minute, but they've just been kind of filling it with veterans.
So, again, it goes back to what's the plan, right? Like, yeah, you can go get the shiny piece of either one of these quarterbacks out of the draft, but like, well, you just said a second ago, like trading back is the best option.
Overall,
if we're evaluating this roster, like with what we just said now, you mentioned all the people that they need on this squad. Is this, as it sits right now, the worst made-up roster in the NFL? Who's worse?
They have the first pick for a reason, right?
I know, but like that's because of wins and losses.
There's so many holes and not even any depth either. That's the biggie.
Going 3-14 in the AFC South makes you the worst team in football.
Yeah, and the worst roster.
Yeah. As of today.
Because you got the holes in starters, right? You got holes that are starters in big positions. But then, again, you got to have depth in the NFL. And they just have not had the parts to build it. Or they're playing catch up to all these missed draft picks and all these guys that were, shipped away. And so now you're really having to continue to start building that foundation, and it doesn't happen overnight. We all know that.
It does, and you're right. And it's going to have to boil down to, like I said, we were speaking about earlier. We were going back and forth. Like you might have to pull some old Tennessee Titan ways out and spend a little bit just to even get back to
Just assemble a team.
Because that's what they did last year to just fill holes, right? They were doing it last year, and you're right. There's still holes. There's still plenty of holes to have to fill.
I think the interesting part of Nick Suss's piece, the Tennessean, is some of the numbers within this. That a year ago, the Titans gave $168.4 million to Calvin Ridley and L'Jarius Sneed. The Commanders used $177 million to sign 26 players. 19 of them had one-year deals. No one signed for longer than 3 years. Those 26 players combined to start 167 games last year.
Yeah. Efficiency.
Now, not to say that you always have to do things identically. The Titans also don't have the money to spend that Washington had last season. So these are not exactly correlated situations, but Javon Holland, estimated from Spot Track, is 4 years, $60 million. I would be surprised if the Titans are willing to commit that. Granted, he's 25. He's a young player. Heck, you're drafting guys that are 25. I mean, we just talked about Anthony Belton out of NC State. He's 26, and he might be drafted to be your right tackle on day 2 of the draft. So you are maybe signing someone who's a bit of a different case because he is so young. But it does feel to me like the Titans are going to splash on one position. Is safety the one you're really willing to do that? For me, no. For me, it's right guard is where I'm willing to pay a premium to teach some of these young linemen how to be pros.
Yeah.
I think you have that level of leadership already in the secondary and on defense that you are now looking for on the offensive line.
And we just don't know what they're thinking, though, because we have heard from Titans camp, too, that they do like Dylan Radins, that they feel like Dylan Radins did take a jump last year, and not having a consistent player at right tackle and it being an ever rotating spot last year, maybe Dylan Radins took a little bit on himself too because he didn't have that consistency. So maybe they feel like they have that spot, and then you go and get some depth there.
You said you spent at right guard, Will, as a premium to make a splash. Jeez, I'd probably go defensive end.
Yeah.
I would.
Well, you need multiple of those.
I know.
You do.
Josh Sweat is one of those guys that you feel like the Titans could be in the market for.
For sure. I know Justin Mello put out a quick piece, too, on maybe some of his options at free agency. It's a good list if you want to go check it out. He put it up on Twitter. Josh Sweat was one of those guys, though, for sure. Christian Kirk also in there as wide receiver as the Jaguars have parted ways.
I don't want old receivers anymore.
How old is Christian Kirk?
I get that.
28?
Yeah.
28. Just turned 28, though. He just turned 28. Good. You good on Christian Kirk?
I'm good on Christian Kirk.
Ooh, this list is low. Keenan Allen, old. Stephon Diggs, injured. Devontae Adams, costly, old. Tyler Lockett, old. D-Hop, old. Robert Wood, yeah.
You're looking at the list of wide receivers. Yeah, there's not. That's why I said if they could go get not the Titans, but T. Higgins. Priority. That's why T. Higgins could be such a great use for a trade because he'd be the best one out of that group.
Problem is, again, though, you talk about paying 2 receivers.
No, you also talking about a trade for
already paying Calvin Ridley, and the Titans can't give up draft capital. Yeah.
Just in general.
They could have signed him.
Josh Palmer.
If he'd become available. Ball. Absolutely. Make the Titans the Vols again.
Sure. Yeah.
So coming up next, 615-737-1045. We'll bring Sam Monson into the discussion, one of our favorites from the 33rd team. Does he believe in Cam Ward enough to put aside all of these needs for the Titans that they could get by trading back, and just to make him the pick, just to get your quarterback? We'll bring Sam into all of those discussions coming up next.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
What's up? It's Will Bowling. Are you looking to keep your home in great shape year-round? Well, if so, you sign up for a League Company home maintenance plan. You can do exactly that for a great price of just $12 a month. Plan members receive 4 service visits a year from the League Company team of experts. You're going to get a heating system tune-up, an air conditioning tune-up, an electrical inspection, and a detailed plumbing inspection. That's 4 annual visits for just $12 a month. For the very best in-home service, you got to call Lee Company at 615-567-1000 today or visit them online at leecompany.com. Just search home maintenance plan to join their membership. You stay ahead of Mother Nature, and look, we get all 4 seasons in a week here sometimes in Middle Tennessee, but with the home maintenance plan, you will always be prepared for the low price of just $12 a month. 615-567-1000 is the number to call, or head online to leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. RKW is brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Joining us this morning, you hear him on Check the Mic Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, wherever you download podcasts from the 33rd team. He is Sam Monson. What's up, Sam? How are you, man?
Doing well. How about you guys?
Good.
We are good, and we are ready for the Sam Darnold sweepstakes to tell us whether or not the Titans are going to draft a quarterback or Abdul Carter or move back. Sam, at this point, is Sam Darnold the best option for the Titans at quarterback, or are you in the Cam Ward camp at number one?
Yeah, I mean, Darnold is obviously the big domino to fall this offseason. Matthew Stafford and the trade rumors that threatened to put him on the market. I don't know that was ever really a real thing from the Rams, as opposed to just trying to use the rest of the league to kind of set the market for the new deal. But Darnold, I think, is potentially available. And it's a difficult one because I don't know that we've ever seen a quarterback do what he did last year, which is completely change his game, become a different player, look like the player that he was supposed to be when he was drafted, a top prospect, win a bunch of games, look like he could go on a run and legitimately take the Vikings to a Super Bowl, and then completely implode and undo all of that good work in the space of 2 games, the most important 2 games that the Vikings played that season. Their final regular season game was the number 1 seed on the line. It was everything in terms of the regular season on the line, and then obviously their playoffs defeat, the one playoff game they had. So I don't know if you're looking from the outside in, or even if you're the Vikings trying to analyze that, I don't know how you weigh that, how you say most of the season looked like this guy had changed his game, was a completely different player, and had become the player that he was supposed to be. But the most important 2 games we played at the end of the season, he looked like he had been taken straight from that New York Jets team, the seeing ghosts Sam Darnold, like they transported him straight from that bench when Bill Belichick was giving him nightmares. It was the same player. It was like we hit the reset button and gone all the way back. I don't know how you're supposed to weigh that if you're anybody looking at, how to evaluate Darnold going forward.
Sam, where do you feel like he made the most improvements this past season? And is that success sustainable? Because you get a lot of people saying he's a one-hit wonder, couldn't replicate it without Kevin O'Connell or Addison and Jefferson being able to throw the ball to. If you're the Titans, would you be willing to make that gamble that he can improve on those things?
Well, that I think is the big question is this dependent on Kevin O'Connell? Because we're now starting to stack up evidence that Kevin O'Connell's pretty good at this. We saw a significant improvement in Kirk Cousins. It was like, again, he had sort of rewired Kirk Cousins' brain and got him playing a different brand of football. And then the data point we have when Kirk Cousins goes somewhere else is not good. Now, obviously, there's always confounding factors. We never get this clean A-B analysis. Cousins went somewhere else coming off an Achilles injury at 35 years old. So it's probably not a fair analysis to just say, well, Cousins left Kevin O'Connell and fell apart. What was really impressive from Darnold is that he didn't go in the tank the way that he would have done in previous years when he started to make mistakes up until those final 2 games. He had bad performances or made bad mistakes over the course of the season, but what was really impressive was how he was able to bounce back from those and the resiliency that he showed. And there were some late game heroics from Darnold after he'd made big mistakes earlier in the game that I don't think he would have made previously in his career. But I don't know whether that needs Kevin O'Connell around to kind of keep going, or if that's the kind of thing that you take with you. Once you've been exposed to that kind of coaching and that kind of relationship and development, if you're able to maintain it and keep going. We saw the potential of Darnold last season was very high. It was sort of justification from the people that have always believed in Darnold for such a long period of time since he's been drafted. But we also saw, the scary reality that it can all blow up in smoke, even in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell.
Sam Monson, the 33rd team, with us this morning. Sam, when it comes down to that, then if you can have the believers of Sam Darnold come out of the woodworks and say, hey, we knew this, who's the next guy to do that then? Because Zach Wilson's available. Trey Lance is available. Mac Jones is available. Do you believe those guys have that in them to be able to come to a team like the Tennessee Titans to kind of resurrect their career too?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in this world now where reclamation projects at quarterback are kind of intriguing. And suddenly we're seeing, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. We're seeing this run of guys that were written off and cast aside, and teams are taking a second swing on them and seeing if maybe it's, a change of scenery. Maybe they just need a reboot from the kind of traumatizing effect of being a high drafted quarterback that busts, that doesn't work out in a bad situation. And I think those guys I think there's some merit to that. I think there is some value to getting those guys and trying to rebuild them because the talent, doesn't disappear. I mean, Carolina did it with Bryce Young within the same sort of structure, within the same team. I don't think it was by design necessarily. Like they basically had to bench him the way he was playing. But Bryce Young right now was playing some of the best football in the NFL by the end of the season. So I think there's definitely merit to going to look for those guys. Darnold, though, I think is the only one that I would want starting for me next year. Like he's the guy that has shown he's sort of already been reclaimed to a degree, and I think you would have a reasonable degree of confidence putting him there as a starter and being good. Maybe you can resuscitate the career of a Zach Wilson or a Mac Jones or whoever, but I think it's a much bigger risk taking one of those guys and just assuming that you can start them. At the very maximum, I think those guys are, let's bring them in as a competition. Let's see if they win the job, but I wouldn't want to be banking on those guys to start.
Sam, when you look at last week at the Combine, a lot of information up there, a lot of business is going on up there also. If the Titans don't find a trade partner at number one and they have to stick and pick, I think justifiably you might have to pick a quarterback. Which one of the top two, or even at this point, Jackson Dart, do you like if the Titans have to stick and pick there?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think the Combine kind of showed you a few things in terms of where everybody else is, like gave you a better idea of the consensus within the league on certain things. And certainly coming out of the Combine, it sounds like the gap between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders at the top of this draft is significant. And it's probably seen as a one quarterback draft at the top of the draft. And then the question becomes, who likes Shedeur Sanders, who's willing to take that gamble, and how far down does he slide? But I think if you're talking about a quarterback going number one, I honestly think Cam Ward might be the only one in the conversation at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Monson of 33rd Team joining us now, does great work. Love following you guys on Twitter as well. I just feel like you bring so much great, opinions and just the stats that go along with it. So definitely give them a follow. Sam, when we talk about free agency, though, we just spoke about it on the segment before this. There's so many holes to fill on this team. They've got to make some move in free agency, but they say they don't want to spend the big chunk of money. What's the first need when you look at this team in terms of where they need to go maybe in free agency and spend a little money?
Yeah, I think there's a few spots that they can address. And, the good news is this is a good free agent group for not overspending, but for just kind of picking up capable starters that can come in for, mid-tier money and make a difference, but not break the bank. I think they still need to keep working on that offensive line. Obviously, they've been doing that for a couple of years now and have added players and definitely improved it from where it was. The work's not done, though. We need to keep going, I think, on that group. The entire right side could be upgraded upon, and I think you could get starters in free agency that could, allow you to do that without having to sort of box you into a corner of chasing needs in the draft. I think they still need to work on edge rusher as well, particularly if Harold Landry isn't going to be there. They need a guy that can get consistent pressure off the edge in addition to the players that they've got inside and Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat. So I think the entire defense could stand to kind of keep an eye out for where the talent is and where the free agents are. Safety this year, I think in particular, is going to be, there's so many good safeties that are hitting free agency. I think there's going to be some interesting names available for very little money. I mean, I think that's an area that just in terms of value, you might want to take a look at. But yeah, I think there's definitely a good free agent group for this team to kind of dip into without having to spend a ton of money.
Going back to Harold Landry, and this is maybe a two-parter. First and foremost, do you feel like there is more players asking for trades this year and maybe why that might be? And then also with Harold Landry, how much do you think the Titans could get out of him if he were indeed to be traded?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Teams have gotten better at roster management at free agency generally. So one of the reasons you look at the free agent group and you're like, man, where did all the star power go? You know, this is not like it used to be when there were a ton of like top 5 players hitting free agency every single year, and maybe some of it was, you know, fool's gold and it wasn't sort of smart money to spend, but they were there. And now you're looking at it and you're like, these guys don't hit the market anymore. Teams have just gotten better at managing their cap and managing their rosters, managing the contracts of the star players that they have. And most of these guys don't hit the market. So when they're looking for that new deal or they're trying to get, available or trying to get somewhere else, they're kind of demanding trades. They're using that as a tool to leverage the next contract or to try and agitate for a move somewhere else. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, but a lot of the other times it's what allows them to set the market. And because all this money is still there in terms of cap space, teams, I think, are more interested in dipping into the trade market because the free agents aren't there to spend that money. So, you know, if you're a team like the Patriots and you built up this crazy war chest of free agent cap space and you look at the group and you're like, we don't want to spend this money on any of these people. Well, the next route is to call some teams up with, you know, contracts that need to be done or players that are kind of expiring or the contract is too big and say, well, we could pay that money. What would it take to get this player? And that's how you end up with those kind of Deebo Samuel trades. The Harold Landry thing's fascinating because I was kind of amazed how young he still is.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like he's been in the league for such a long time now. He's still, you know, under 29 years old. He's a consistent source of pressure when he's healthy. Obviously, his injuries kind of set him back. But I'd be intrigued at sort of kicking the tires on Harold Landry if you can get him for, you know, some kind of mid-round draft pick. I don't think it's going to break the bank because of he has slowed down in the last couple of years with those injuries. But I think he'd be an intriguing guy to add to a team that is struggling for pass rush to try and see if you can get him back towards his best.
Sam Monson of the 33rd team, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. So, Sam, how do you grade Cam Ward compared to some of these previous drafts? Because there's a lot of discourse out there that, he would have been right behind, Drake May or right in the top last year. Then you got some people that say he is closer to Kenny Pickett than he is some of the elites at the top. But what is your take on his projectability and his level of just talent as a prospect?
Yeah, I think the two guys this year, Cam Ward, and if we throw Shedeur Sanders in there as well, I think those two guys are closer than a lot of people think to last year's group. Remember, like a year ago, it's easy to kind of look back now and say, well, that was an incredible group of quarterbacks. Look, every one of them was playing really well as rookies. But like this time a year ago, people were talking about Michael Penix Jr. as being a second-round pick and Bo Nix as being maybe a second-round pick as well. And, you know, some people wanted to pair him to Denver and that high in the draft, but a lot of that was kind of desperation and need and the expectation that the rest of the group was going to be gone by the time Denver picked. So, you know, I think they belong in that kind of group of quarterbacks, maybe definitely a step behind guys like Caleb Williams as a prospect. But, you know, I think you can definitely put Cam Ward and to a lesser extent, maybe Shedeur Sanders in that conversation with the Drake Mays and certainly the Michael Penix and Bo Nixes of that group.
Sam Monson with us this morning. Sam, I think the best plan for the Titans would be, and I feel like everybody knows this, to move out of the number 1 pick and go back to potentially 3 and get Abdul Carter. Sam, what is Abdul Carter to you, in your opinion, man? Like, is he that type of impactful play if you do have him on your squad, or is everybody just chasing the ghost of Micah Parsons?
No, I think he can be. Obviously, comparing him to Micah Parsons is it's unfair to a guy like Abdul Carter. It's like when everyone spent the next 10 years looking for undersized defensive tackles and was comparing them to Aaron Donald. Like, those guys are one of one. You're not going to replicate that. But he is crazy explosive. The other parallels, obviously, is he's wearing number 11 at Penn State, and he's a kind of linebacker convert. I mean, last season was his first year as a true edge rusher, and you can see why they wanted to put him there. Like, he's crazy explosive, really quick twitch. The growth just within that one season is really impressive. That opener against West Virginia, like he's just getting annihilated by these tight end kick out blocks the whole time because he doesn't know they're coming. Like he doesn't expect that play. By the end of the year, you know, he's treating those blocks completely differently. He's using the correct shoulder. He's setting an edge better. He understands they're coming. Like the technique, the growth, the understanding of the position progressed so far within one season. But he's strong. He's got. I really like the potential there. There's obviously some projection involved. It's, you know, he's very young as a pass rusher, but all the tools are there for him to be, you know, a really high-end pass rusher at the next level.
Sam Monson of the 33rd team joining us this morning on RKW. I want to go back to the quarterback conversation because clearly that's dominating our talk show here almost every day. Let's say that you did draft one of these QBs, probably Cam Ward, but you still thought, hey, we're going to bring in a veteran quarterback maybe just for a year, right? A bridge contract. Who is the best available out of that group, would you say?
Well, that's where I think the idea of Aaron Rodgers gets interesting.
Yep.
Like I would be curious if Rodgers is interested in that kind of bridge quarterback, you know, short-term role, or if he's literally, I will play starting quarterback or I'm retiring, effectively. Like if you could convince Aaron Rodgers to play that role, I think that would be interesting because Rodgers was not as bad, I think, last year as a lot of the narrative was saying. You're seeing a little bit of pushback on that now. People sort of pointing that out. Hey, if you actually look at his numbers, he wasn't as bad as people thought he was. And, you know, Max Crosby said this in his podcast. Like, you know, he's another year removed from an Achilles injury. That's a significant injury to come back from at any age for any player. It's not crazy to think that Rodgers would be better next year than he was last year, even at his age. You know, physically, he could still throw the football well. So I think if he's interested in that kind of role, it would definitely be an interesting addition. Russell Wilson, a similar thing. Like maybe if Wilson's willing to take on that role, I think he's a different style of quarterback and maybe more limited in terms of what the offense can be, but is definitely capable of decent bridge quarterback play. Outside of that, I think you start to get pretty desperate pretty quickly.
He is Sam Monson of the 33rd team. Does a great job with our good friend Steve Palazzolo. Check the mic, a great podcast for NFL fans. They got a free agency preview pod up now there as well, wherever you download podcasts. Good to catch up with you, Sam. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, Sam.
Thanks, guys. Take it
Thanks,
easy.
Sam.
Yes, sir. Sam Monson. High on Cam Ward.
Yeah.
I don't care.
On the Cam and Aaron Rodgers train would be interesting.
I know a lot of people are like, because they hear Aaron Rodgers. I don't like him either, like he's annoying, right? But I'm just thinking production, what you could get out of him for 1 year. And then you could even maybe possibly just bring in Cam Ward midway through the season if you think he's ready, or bring in Shedeur Sanders. I know it's not the greatest thing when you think about the name, but like Sam said, I think his production last year gets overlooked.
Who's?
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
That's how I feel.
No, I get it. I get that
They were
too.
just simply behind a lot in a lot of games, which is how I think Cleveland also got fleeced by Deshaun Watson and his numbers too. Like he threw for 5,000 yards because they sucked.
We should put this to a poll on signing Rodgers and drafting Cam Ward because I'm interested how Titans fans feel about Rodgers. I do feel like opinion has shifted, where Titans fans now are watching all these other quarterbacks go back to where they were last year and coming around on it, but I could be wrong. I'm interested in the opinion.
Yeah, I am too, because it's kind of like, I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, hell no.
We'll put it in the poll. Would you sign up for a year of Aaron Rodgers and drafting Cam Ward? We'll say like it or don't like it, or just yes or no. At Ramon Caleb, we'll put that up now. 615-737-1045. You can react and answer that question yourself as well. We'll react a little bit of hoops. Not a good night for the Tennessee basketball Vols on a couple of different fronts last night, and we'll talk about that next. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee. Wrap it up hour 3 on 104.5 The Zone. Lots of headlines for you in the NFL to catch you up on if you've been sleeping in this morning. You know, we always do that at 9 a.m. on every show. A poll on Twitter. No, on this show we don't call it X. A Twitter poll for the people. Would you sign up for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers and drafting Cam Ward for the Titans? At Ramon Kayla Will, where you follow the show, by the way. You can check out our own accounts in the bio right there if you want to hit us up as well. Very early return. 60% of you say yes, which very much surprises me. But again, sometimes those results change after the initial poll goes out. Only 60 of you have voted. So far, it's only been up for about 2 minutes.
All right, go vote.
I got Ryan on here said, got here early to say hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Danny
mean,
Mann
there's going to be some
has
strong opinions.
Tracy Morgan saying no as well as a GIF.
I get it.
Even though I call it GIF, but apparently it is GIF.
This is how creative we're starting to get here because the lack of just options that are just, blatantly clear.
I mean, from a media perspective, we're getting hard knocks here if Aaron Rodgers and Cam Ward are your quarterbacks. So,
I mean, I'm here for the media aspect of that.
Yeah. If that was up to us, we represent 0.00001% of the population of Titans fans. But, let's go to Bam up next on the phones. What's up, Bam?
What up, Bam?
Yo, good morning, fam. Good morning.
Morning.
Man, the more I think about it, I'm going to be real with you, man. That Aaron Rodgers thing is kind of like, it's almost creeping in your veins a little bit. Like, man. I mean, but I'm saying Aaron and draft Cam or Shedeur.
Sure.
I'm saying Aaron and draft one of them. But now my question is to y'all, do we beef up the offensive line more now if we do sign Aaron? Because he's Dr. Seuss, a cat in the hat. He can barely move as it is. But, I think if you beef up the line a little bit, maybe we could get 7 wins out of him, maybe 8, and I don't know. Aaron Rodgers does get some favorable calls here and there, even though the Titans don't. But Aaron Rodgers gets calls because he done got calls against us that are like, bro, for real? Like, you know how he draws people off sides and then we'll throw a touchdown right there beside that? So it's kind of like, do we get those calls? Do we get, but I just think maybe if we beef up the line, it's not a bad dream, I don't know. I don't know what to feel. I just don't want 2025 to be like 2024. That was too dreadful. I was on the ledge every week. I can't do that no more. Can't do it. Y'all have a good one, man.
Bam, they've got to beef up that line no matter who's back there.
If you put prime Peyton Manning, they're going to need a better line.
You just have to.
Yeah.
I love how it's the cope. It's the coping side of it now.
I think anyone who even wants Aaron Rodgers admits that they don't want Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, I'm the first one raising my hand in this situations, but this is where we're at.
I just choose another option. 7 wins get you picking at 12, 13?
So if Aaron Rodgers can only get 5 wins on the Jets, why would he get 7 wins here?
AFC South, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
AFC South.
For sure.
That's why.
I mean, the Jets played the AFC South last year too. I guess they only played them once, but I don't know. He went 5-12 as a starter last year, and he had some good numbers in blowouts when games were already decided. Like I agree, the numbers were better than what people think, but why were the numbers better? Because they got blown out a lot and they're throwing the ball a lot.
28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions also. How many sacks? He had 40 sacks on the season, too, last year.
He can't move anymore.
Can't move.
Yeah,
no.
But he did play every game.
Look, I'll entertain it. I would talk about it every single day.
I'm not totally out on it.
I
I don't want to do that and draft Cam Ward.
Right.
Like, I don't see Aaron Rodgers as the mentor type. I know he's done it before, but did he want to do it before?
I honestly think Zach Wilson and him did get along really well. I really do think, if you watch that Hard Knocks season, it was actually surprising how much of a mentor he was to Zach. And then, unfortunately, he got his foot.
He may be a better mentor. Seriously, I ain't going to discredit that side of it. I don't want to be mean guys against Aaron Rodgers, but for 1 year, it's the other thing you got to ask yourself, too. What is it going to cost?
Yeah, and I think you could get him on the cheap. I really do.
The first time he gets sacked 6 times in a game, which would happen by week 3, by the way.
I was going to say, yeah.
Everyone in Nissan Stadium is going to be yelling for Cam Ward.
And that's totally fine. That's why I actually like this, because I think we all know what Aaron Rodgers' future is. It's pretty much, maybe a year or 2 left on 1-year deals places. I think at some point, maybe one team will give him more. I doubt it, though, guys. I think he at some point has to realize who he is.
I don't know if you're willing to make a move though in week 4, then just get Jacoby Brissett.
It sounded like you want him to come here so he could suck, though.
No,
You don't?
no.
Okay.
I truly feel like there's just not a lot of like 1-year bridges out there.
Oh, there's tons.
There's plenty of options. They're just not good.
Yeah, and he's probably the one in terms of if you're just looking at last year. Again, I don't like Aaron Rodgers. This
feel
isn't.
you.
I'm just trying to be
for sure.
realistic about it, And I guess I wouldn't feel as bad though if, let's say, he got traded out midway through the season because you felt like, okay, it is okay for Cam to come in. It wouldn't be like you're like, oh God, but we wasted it all on Aaron Rodgers coming here.
I think
you get what I'm saying with that?
The only way you do the Rodgers and Ward thing is if you are committed to letting Cam Ward sit for the whole season. I'm not doing Aaron Rodgers if I'm also willing to, in a month, to say, actually, let's go with Cam.
Yeah.
I
get it.
When is Aaron getting cut to? That's the other side of it.
After one season.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking about the dates. Is he post June 1st designation? Because when can he come in and actually be a part of the offense and learn it?
Well, let's go to the phones and I'll look it up.
All right, for sure. No, I'm saying it right now.
Yep.
He's still in the contract, so is that a trade or just wait to be cut? But go ahead, though. Yeah.
No, you're good. I don't have the answer.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's go to Fred up next. Hey, Fred.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
First time caller, long time listener, right?
Oh, cool.
But to answer y'all quick question first, don't bring Aaron Rodgers and Cam Ward. No. But I was calling a comment on the draft, right? So I'm big on that the Titans need to take a quarterback. I know you guys are talking trade back and take Abdul Carter, but I think the Titans need to take a quarterback. Honestly, I'm team Shedeur Sanders because I think he's very accurate. And he didn't have a running game, didn't have an O-line, and still was very successful. He's a very confident person. But anyway, I'll take either one of them, Cam Ward or Shedeur.
Gotcha.
But I guess, but I guess my question is, it seems like we're already giving up on this season, looking forward to the next season. I guess nobody really expected Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix to turn those teams around. Why can't one of those rookie quarterbacks possibly turn this team around? So my question is, I guess if we don't take a quarterback, who is going to be the Titans quarterback next year? Are we bringing in Mayonnaise Man Levis again, or are we going back with 1-year wonder Sam Darnold that had a great offensive weapons around him and had all this good stuff around him? We're going with old man Rodgers, overpaying them. So what are we going to do at quarterback next year if we don't draft one?
For sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I
you
think,
calling
I
in.
think the only
call.
option is like Sam Darnold. That's if you're not going to draft a quarterback, and I don't even love him.
You got
either.
options. You've got Sam Darnold. You have Mac Jones. You have Zach Wilson. You have Jacoby Brissett. You've got Daniel Jones. You've got plenty of options. Personally, I'm signing Sam Darnold to a 3-year deal you could get out of after 2 with upfront guaranteed money on the front end.
It's not
That's what I'm
great
doing.
options, folks. That's why the theme has been for this week. The options aren't just like sticking out. That's why we have so many of them.
Ramon? Darnold?
Darnold.
Darnold won. And who was your second
What
choice
if
again?
Justin Fields was
Darnold,
available?
Darnold.
I'd take him.
I just don't think he is.
Yeah, I know.
I think he's going back
I'm
to Pittsburgh.
dreaming.
Darnold or Daniel Jones, period.
Bubba says, you guys don't like Aaron Rodgers because of his political stance. That's
Okay,
sad.
we're not doing that.
Absolutely not.
Not doing that.
I couldn't.
That is
Absolutely
a
not.
non-starter.
Nope.
That's nothing to do with it.
Political? Look, I'm tired of watching bad football.
He's 42. He got sacked 40 times this year. He went 5-12. He's not good in the locker room.
And by the
He's
way,
a sideshow that's going to make people worse around him.
I didn't know you could look. I didn't know you could look at a person, tell if they're Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, it's
too.
crazy.
Yeah, not doing that. Bro.
All right, many of you want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. We will pivot away from the Tennessee hoops discussion we were going to have. We'll save that for the end of the show. If you're hanging on for it, we'll get there. I promise you. But we will let you guys continue the discussion on Aaron Rodgers. Our poll on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will. Are you willing to sign Aaron Rodgers and draft Cam Ward? We'll go rapid fire on the phones with more reaction to that next. 9:01 for the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Will Bowling. Today, the Titans pre-draft visits officially begin, according to Albert Breer of SI.com, who says that Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter will be in Nashville to meet with the Titans today. He's the first player to visit with the team. And Albert Breer also adds that Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Travis Hunter are set to meet with the team as well in the coming days and weeks. Last night at Oxford, Tennessee falls to Ole Miss 78-76. A late putback from Jamin Brakefield. The difference, he scored 19 points, all of them coming in the second half as Ole Miss corralled 11 offensive rebounds in the second frame as well. Elsewhere in the SEC, Florida upsets Alabama 99-94. 27 points, 10 boards from Alex Condon led the way. The Gators have now won 8 of their last 9. In the NFL, the Chargers have released Joey Bosa, the 29-year-old former number 3 overall pick, has 72 career regular season sacks, ranking him second in Chargers history. That move saves L.A. $25 million in cap space. And the Raiders rewarded Max Crosby with a new deal, 3 years, $106.5 million, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history at an average annual salary of $35.5 million per year. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. And we got a fresh hour of the show brewed for you this morning on 104.5 The Zone. Glad you're here. Whether you're listening on the FM radio dial or if you are streaming us on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Coming up in 15 minutes, Nick Suss of the Tennessean has a fascinating sit-down with Chad Brinker. And as we learn more about that conversation, we get more info, like the 3 teams the Titans are taking inspiration from this offseason. Some very interesting thoughts from the president of football operations, Chad Brinker, that we will read and react to coming up here in 15 minutes. But this morning, many of you want to chime in on Aaron Rodgers. Kayla is on the train of sign Aaron Rodgers and draft Cam Ward. Will you put that to a poll on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will? And the audience is split. 51% of you are saying yes to that plan. 49% of you are saying no. 200 of you have voted. You head to Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will to send your thoughts on what would be one of the more entertaining quarterback rooms in the history of this organization.
Oh, Lord. It will be good. I'll be here for it. Like I said, I'm down to cover it. It's just, I don't have to love it. It's got to be one of them situations where if it wins, guess what? Guess what cures all in sports? Winning. Hands down. Down. I just don't have a strong belief with a Leicester team that he's capable of it, even if it is AFC South. But if the plan is laid out, run it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's difficult to have a belief in anything right now. And I do believe one of these quarterbacks could be it. At number 1, my pick is Cam Ward, but I do think it would be beneficial if you maybe could sit him for a minute. And then so I then think of who could be a 1-year guy. That's what I'm looking at, right? There's not a ton of options out there right now, and a lot of these other guys are probably going to sign somewhere else.
615-737-1045. Jeremy, first up on Aaron Rodgers. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, good morning, y'all. To touch on one of the other callers' comments earlier about Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, first of all, those 2 guys got put in a way better position. That Denver defense is, one of the best in the league. So, to have a quarterback of any kind of caliber come out of the draft and be inserted into this roster with the holes and the lack of depth that there is and make some sort of significant impact is just not realistic. And as far as the Aaron Rodgers thing goes, you touched on it, Ramon. What financially does this look like? One thing that the Titans do have in their favor is the cap, the room that they have, and trying to get a hold of somebody out of a 1-year bridge that's just looking to pad their pockets for retirement. They don't need to, sell the farm for, him or anybody else that's in on board for just that kind of own personal gain, and is not going to be here to be a mentor. And so, is he willing to accept the role in that position? There's just a lot of dynamics that you hope that Borgonzi and his staff, that they go through and try to be analytical to learn about these people before they start making those kind of decisions. So, is he going to come here to play his role or be a problem? So that's just kind of all I had to add to it. I'll talk to y'all later.
That's fair.
For sure.
Jared.
That's totally fair, man. Totally fair. I think the money absolutely comes into play on that. Like, how much is he willing to get or take, excuse me? But I just don't think he's going to have a ton of other options anyways about long-term deals. So, yeah, but those are all good questions.
So who do we think is in the market for Aaron Rodgers?
Who's in the market for Aaron Rodgers?
Vegas maybe, but I don't think that. I think they'd want a longer-term guy.
To me, right now, it feels like the Giants and the Titans.
And I don't think, the Giants, it's so weird, right, to even mention them. But you're right, Will. That's the only other team I would say is really in it.
Giants and Titans, because the other thing about this, everybody else has their guy or a young guy that they're prepping, because you could throw Indianapolis in this conversation.
I don't think you could.
But they're
just
being
saying,
tied
hypothetically,
to
if they're
Daniel
not,
Jones.
the fact that they got number 5 overall pick, and they're flirting with other quarterbacks is nuts.
Isn't it wild?
I take Aaron Rodgers in Indy over Daniel Jones in Indy for what they got set up already.
I know Matthew Berry of NBC Sports had a big piece of 25 things he's heard. And said that he is considering a move to the Giants, Titans, or sitting out and waiting for the right situation throughout the season.
Titans are sitting out.
Would not be a glowing endorsement of the situation to be walking into here.
The other part, too, before we get to more callers, when do you get him? He still has to be cut. So unless they're going to try to facilitate a trade still. So when do you get Aaron Rodgers in Nashville if you're going after him too? Does he show up in June? Because there's another thing.
Right.
Aaron, like most people, enjoy their offseason.
What's the money
He's going
on
to travel.
that? Do you know?
The money on Aaron
what?
Rodgers.
On cutting him like now or
His cap hit this year is $23.5 million for the Jets if he's on that roster. His base is only 2.5. But again, you got to carry that cap hit if you also are trading for him. That's the other side for Aaron Rodgers too. It's the wait and see situation for him more than anything. When do you get him?
I don't think it's a post-June 1st designation either.
Okay.
No.
Oh, they got to go ahead and get this done by the weekend.
I think that's been really unclear too, because I'll be the first to admit I thought that was already a thing. Like that.
He was already cut?
Yeah, I did. I truly did. So that is another thing that I don't think has been clear.
Yeah. So it's that side of it also for Aaron Rodgers. And right now, I mean, $30 million for Aaron for a year. I get it. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to command that. I'm not doing anything for under my value.
I don't think 30 is going to do it. I don't think he's going to get 30.
I think he's 25.
Yeah, at most.
I guess 1 year, $25 million for him.
1 year, 25. Yeah, the fact that he's doing 1 year's.
It is what it is, right?
That's what I'm saying. I know that, but dude.
It's
He's
wild.
41 right now. He's turned 42 in December.
Bro, you got it. Just walk off.
And I'm surprised that he hasn't, to tell you the honest truth.
Could still.
Yeah.
That's what I think this is going to come to, is he's going to sit around and wait for somebody's quarterback to get hurt and want to go to a situation, and then when no one wants him, he's out. But the Giants are desperate. Maybe they're the ones that do it. Giants also in for Darnold.
That's very true.
Mike in Cleveland up next. Hey, Mike.
Yo, what's goody?
Good morning.
Hey,
man.
Hey, Mike.
Are you not in your truck?
Hello. Oh, see, y'all.
Okay, there we go.
Now
Sorry,
we're
I'm
back.
just so used to it.
Now we're back.
Since I got to do it, since I have to do it, look, maybe call me. Y'all can say I'm going straight heel on this one, for real. Look,
let's hear it.
Let me make this clear. First,
John Cena.
Sam Darnold, for sure. You dig? Will, don't try to guess what I'm going to say. Very good.
You got the floor. You're cooking.
Okay, so listen, this is all I'm saying. For all of these years, I've heard this whole fan base call in and beg for all of these other free agents, all right? Roll out what do they say? Roll the truck up to them. We got to get them. Oh, we need a wide receiver. Well, now it's looking like we need a quarterback. So I'm like, yeah, forget it. I'm not opposed to it. Go get Rodgers. Go and draft Ward. You know what I'm saying? Y'all done did all this crazy stuff. We didn't look real dumb before. I mean, like, screw it. Let's go all in and let's just keep it going, right? Like, let's just get some free agents. Let's roll the truck up to who's ever the hottest name in free agency at this time, and let's lose our minds and let's go get them. And that could even be Rodgers' last play. Also, we done did it before. It ain't nothing new to us. I'm going strictly against the fan base on this one because y'all constantly do this every offseason with a wide receiver. So now I'm doing it with this quarterback. So yeah, let's go get Rodgers, baby. Do it. So that's all I got. Do.
Get out of here, Mike.
Rodgers is a post-June 1st designation.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
So there you go.
Mike said crash out.
Oh, my goodness.
Turn heel.
Mike.
On his John Cena
cracked
stuff
me
this morning.
up.
He is.
I mean, knowing wrestling stuff. That's crazy.
Does it change your mind on if you can't come to town to June 1st? I mean, they can pass on the
really.
playbook.
Anyway.
Not really.
No.
So I guess.
And
And
then
Kayla, does it change the idea of it just a little bit, or
Not really.
Okay,
Just because
gotcha.
I think
I
then
gotcha.
they could also know, well, we're really going to start talking with Rodgers camp, but we're going to know that we want to draft Cam or Shedeur.
You think he's showing up to workouts anyway?
hell no?
Exactly. I mean, that's what you're signing up for when you sign up for Aaron Rodgers. Like, it doesn't matter. You could add him on March 1st or June 1st. He's going to do things on his time, on his terms. He's not going to mentor anybody. Aaron Rodgers is about Aaron Rodgers. And I said it earlier this offseason. If you could sign up for Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, and nothing else, I'd do it. Mm-hmm. But that ain't the way Aaron Rodgers rolls.
That's why it's going to be so incredibly interesting where he does land up, wherever he does land. Like, how does that all happen?
The Hall of Fame is where he's landing. Just start your 5-year clock, Aaron.
He's not getting the control to play GM like the Jets
Oh,
can
heck
anymore,
no.
that's for
And
sure.
I wonder if he learned that too. Like, I can't do that anymore.
Not here.
Like, I don't think anywhere.
This new group can't get bullied.
Maybe the Giants.
Oof.
Because I think they're pretty spineless and generally not very smart and good at these things. But again, I don't know.
They also know both their GM and coach are going to be fired if they don't figure something out.
That's right. That is right. On Twitter, at Ramon Kayla Will again, would you sign up for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers and drafting Cam Ward for the Titans? The poll has switched. 51% of you now say no.
Okay.
So it'll be open for a full 24 hours. You got plenty of time to give your thoughts there and continue that discussion. But when we come back, there is a great piece in the Tennessean by Nick Suss, who had a sit-down interview with President of Football Operations, Chad Brinker. He says there are 3 franchises the Titans are looking at as inspiration for their turnaround here in Tennessee, and we'll talk about that next.
Is your concrete in need of repair? Maybe your sidewalk is shifting, your driveway is cracked and sinking, or your porch steps, maybe they've moved on you. Shifting concrete can create a dangerous situation and just trip hazard around your home, too. It's also a big eyesore. Shimon Foster, whatever's going on with your concrete, call United Structural Systems. Ask them about the polyurethane foam injections. You've heard about USS for a long time. It's the same company that's provided superior foundation repair and waterproofing to Middle Tennessee since 1994. Well, guess what? They can also fix your sunken and settling concrete. USS uses polyurethane foam injections to lift and repair your sinking concrete in a matter of minutes. Lifted concrete can be walked on immediately or even driven on after 30 minutes. So don't go through that long, expensive process of ripping out and replacing concrete. Reach out to the people that I trust. You can go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooter's Coffee in Brentwood, Goodlettsville, Mount Juliet, Smyrna, and White House. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. You get a cinnamon roll. It's warm. You get the caramelicious coffee. It goes perfectly together. That's the kind of food and drink pairing that I'm into, is a caramel coffee, a cinnamon roll. 615-737-1045 is our number. We'll get back to some of your calls in a moment, but wanted to dive into this article from Nick Suss of the Tennessean, who is continuing to give more insight into what the Titans are thinking, into what Chad Brinker wants to do this offseason. In this long-form sit-down interview, he's had many articles come out of this. So the most recent one was yesterday about 3 teams that have had recent turnarounds that the Titans want to emulate. So at the beginning of this, I think the money of the article, the money of what we know, is about the money off the front end. It says a year ago, the Titans gave $168.4 million worth of contracts to Calvin Ridley and L'Jarius Sneed. 2 players got $168.4 million. The Washington Commanders, meanwhile, used $177.4 million to sign 26 players.
Jeez.
19 of them inked one-year deals. No one signed for longer than 3 seasons. Those 26 players combined to start 167 games for the Commanders. They improved by 8 wins. They won a playoff game for the first time since 2005. The Titans, of course, got 3 wins worse. Chad Brinker is quoted in this saying, of course they got the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, that really transformed the organization. But they went after volume and quantity. And I don't know that they spent more than $10 million per year on one particular player. It's just interesting when you start studying the strategies of these teams that have kind of climbed out of a situation like ours. Now, Jaden Daniels is not available to be drafted this year. Even if you believe Cam Ward is great, if you believe he's QB1, he's available, I think even the biggest Cam Ward fans can admit he's not Jaden Daniels, right?
And I don't think everybody knew Jaden Daniels was Jaden Daniels last year either.
That's fair.
So,
however, his grade was still very, very, very good pre-draft. He was the slam dunk number 2 overall pick, number 2 quarterback, at worst 3 between him and Drake May. So emulating the Commanders, is that something that is realistic for the Titans? Is that something you are interested in, considering the success they had this past season?
In my personal opinion right now, it's not possible right now.
Really?
Yeah, because you don't have that quarterback yet. That's the issue that you have with trying to do what they did. You don't have that quarterback yet and know what the outlook is going to look like, because you knew at least the profile that they were going to get Jaden Daniels, right? We don't understand that right now. What has to happen before they get to drafting the quarterback is free agency. That's going to clear up a whole lot. But the idea of being able to get a whole lot of quantity as it pertains to volume and quantity as it pertains to this free agency, I do think that's the best plan moving forward. I look at last year's situation and say to yourself, you thought you had the guy that you can do that with in Will Levis, and it didn't turn out that good. I'm of the mindset, yes, volume and quantity has to be the case. How it works out in the end, I don't know. Who's held accountable at the end of the day? We shall see. Is it Callahan or is it the front office? But I do see that being the case for this team, and there's no other way around it, in my personal opinion, whether you pick Cam or whether you go for agency and quarterback.
And it is hard to get past the fact that they hit the absolute jackpot with Jaden Daniels in this situation, because I think they thought, okay, we're gonna probably hit on him, but it might be a minute until we see a significant amount of wins and playoffs. Maybe even probably a year or so, maybe a little bit more than that in terms of playoffs. But that was all blown out of the water when we saw what Jaden Daniels did in terms of elevating his team last year. So it is hard to completely take that out. I agree with you, Moan. And I don't think we're going to see a situation like you just spent $168.4 million on just 2 players, Calvin Ridley and L'Jarius Sneed. Like, that can't happen again. But I think it's somewhere in the middle, because I do think you have to spend money on one of these key positions in terms of something on the right side of the line, because you can't just fix all your problems in the draft, or the pass rush situation or the defensive line in general. I think you've got to spend a little bit of money on one of those because I just don't think you can fix everything in the draft. And it probably won't be fixed this year. It's not going to be fixed this year. But I do think you do need to spend a little bit more money to give this team a chance at one of those big spots that's going to mean a lot. Because remember what he said about the trenches, guys, Mike Borgonzi? It all starts up front.
Yeah.
So the free agent class last year for Washington, the specifics of it, Brinker not correct that, by the way, they did not spend over $10 million a year on anyone. They did. But his point still remains that they were selective in how they spent that money in terms of their bigger signings. So the only deals that were really bigger than $10 million a year, they signed Frankie Louvu, linebacker, for 3 years, worth up to $36 million. So you're talking again, in terms of cap hit, in terms of the yearly money, the base, maybe he just means $10 million a year for the first year. I would have to ask him. But again, his point still remains that he's close. Frankie Louvu is 3 years, up to $36 million. They bring in Dorrance Armstrong, defensive end, 3-year deal, up to $45 million. He'd only started 14 games in his career. Was not starting opposite Micah Parsons the way he was before, but he was a decent player last year. 15 starts, 5 sacks, 14 quarterback hits. And then there's Nick Allegretti, guard from the Chiefs, started all 17 games last year for Washington. Some veteran guys, obviously Bobby Wagner is one with some name recognition, a 1-year deal worth up to $8.5 million. The backup quarterback, Marcus Mariota. They also brought in Jeff Driscoll. A lot of veterans last season.
And
the
their
challenge
base was a whole lot better too, Will. Like the base of the players they already had at that point, which you don't have that luxury here in Tennessee.
I don't remember thinking that, though, last year.
But you knew this, though. If Jaden Daniels went there, you knew you had Brian Robinson, you knew you had Scary Terry, you knew you had a defense full of Deron Payne and Jonathan Al. Like there were pieces in place that were ready for him to be a good team. On top of a veteran coach who'd been there, too.
I did not think that.
You didn't think that?
The veteran coach.
I did not think he was walking into a good situation.
I will give you a
That's
lot.
fair.
I'll give you a lot of credit on the coach thing, though. I will. I think that is sometimes underestimated on what they had in terms of leadership of that team last year, and bringing in a guy like I'm sorry, guys, I'm drawing
Bobby Wagner or who?
Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. I think that also did a lot for that. I think that's underestimated sometimes. That's a great point.
He also had big question marks behind him of things he shouldn't have done when he was in Dallas that he did not do this time.
Absolutely. He learned from it. By golly, that's a thing.
Cliff Kingsbury ran a college system for Jaden Daniels that perfectly complemented his skill set. Perfectly. That's where I think the analogy breaks down. I don't think the Titans are going to have a scheme under Brian Callahan that perfectly fits Cam Ward unless Callahan is willing to make major changes to what he has done in the past.
By the way, why they silently did a little move where they brought in the guy from the Chargers, the quarterbacks coach, I believe, and brought him over here recently. And he's like doing some assistant.
About the Titans.
Yeah, it was like an
Titans brought in Mike McCoy, who was with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was.
Here come Mac Jones, then.
It could be.
Oh my God, you know what, Ramon? We haven't talked enough about it.
I kid.
To give credit to is Paul Kaharski with the report that they hired Mike McCoy as a senior offensive analyst who had been he's been in the league for a long time. And again, hate to go to this point, but if Brian Callahan was fired midseason, is an interim head coach option. He's been a head coach before.
Yep.
Of the San Diego Chargers for 4 seasons from 2013 to 2016, where he was 27 and 37. So, again.
Sorry, I just thought about that randomly. So
I never knew Mike McCoy was a head coach in this league.
Yep.
Wow.
So, the other two teams that Chad Brinker says he wants to emulate, I think is interesting. Not just Washington, other ways to do it. Brinker told the Tennessean he has spent a chunk of this offseason not only studying the Commanders' turnaround, but also the turnarounds of Buffalo and Detroit. That means looking into the controversial at the time measures taken by Buffalo GM Brandon Bead, who traded away big-name players like Sammy Watkins, Ronald Darby, and Marcel Darius to build up draft capital. And it means considering the blockbuster move that Detroit GM Brad Holmes made in his first month on the job, trading away superstar quarterback Matthew Stafford for a huge haul. The challenge with that, as Nick Suss notes in this article, is the Titans don't have a Stafford-type asset to dangle in front of contenders. I'll tell you the asset they do have, though.
Talk to us.
The number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to follow that model, you trade back. You accumulate picks. You trade away the best thing about your organization right now, which is the number 1 overall pick. So if they're studying those turnarounds, that to me gives credence to that notion that they are very open to trading back.
It is. And the other part of that, too, is who are the teams that you feel like are closest to being competitive if they move up to number 1, right? I think Vegas feel that way, especially with giving their defensive end, Max Crosby, that type of payday, too. They have an offensive line in place there. They got the running back. They got the receivers. They got the tight ends. That's a team right there that you really want to flirt with in this offseason right now. Again, if Carolina, I don't think they have to move up, but if they're in a position where you feel like they need to move around some stuff. Cleveland, as of late, has moved money up for Deshaun Watson to get out of that deal early, too. So there might be some competition to get that number 1 spot. And here's where you also say to yourself, another thing that was said in this article, man, was what were the words that was used in this?
In the Nick Suss piece?
The Nick Suss piece. Here's what you get. The Brinker-Borgonzi era will be rooted in. This is why I'm saying move back. Either sit the quarterbacks if you do take one or just plan on being bad again in 2025. But it said the era will be rooted in patience, selectiveness, and the much ballyhooed draft and develop mantra.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying if you do get one of these quarterbacks, the idea of them being able to sit or say to yourself, what makes you better over time? I don't think the optimism for 2025 is what it was in 2024. I think they had to go try to sell out for Will Levis because in year 2, with it being his entire offseason, he was supposed to make that jump. Or the expectations of him being that good is why you were super aggressive.
For sure.
So can I just throw something real bad out there that people are not going to like?
They might like it.
If this is the case where it's a slow build, a slow burn, like we're saying, and you trade back and you start getting draft capital and you don't want to pay a long-term big-name quarterback because, again, it's just a year that you're kind of trying to start to build things, do you keep Will Levis and give him another chance?
I mean, technically, if he's looking at what Buffalo GM Brandon Beane did or Detroit GM Brad Holmes, it wouldn't hurt you. It wouldn't hurt.
Right.
It's not taken away from you to be
and it's not
to put Will Levis out there other than hurting fans' feelings.
And that's the biggest thing.
Not saying that I advocate that. I don't think Levis is going to be here.
But I don't think they care right now what anybody thinks. I think they're going to go and stick exactly to what they say they're going to do. And that's all they care about. So there might be some mad people, some mad media members, me probably being one of them. I'm just joking. But still, it's not going to be sexy. I don't think it's going to be.
I have no interest in Will Levis starting another game for the Tennessee Titans.
I don't either, but I'm just saying, guys, I don't want to. I'm just saying.
I would rather have essentially every free agent quarterback on the market than Will Levis. I think Will Levis is broken, and I think he is incapable of correctly executing Brian Callahan's scheme.
He said it, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't mention
his time is over.
You don't mention publicly mental competence about a quarterback unless he's not your guy.
It's really challenging seeing a pathway back for him here. If I'm Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, I'm doing a similar pick swap that you did for Malik Willis, and I'm getting something for him while I still can because someone will take a chance on him. Someone will.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be here. And if he's successful somewhere else, it's because he went somewhere else. I don't think it's going to work here for Will Levis.
Yeah, and I just want to throw it out. It is still an option, guys. It honestly still.
He under contract.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. And again, we just put it out at Ramon Kayla Will on Twitter, and credit to Nick Suss, who did a great job with this, talking with Chad Brinker and looking at turnarounds for inspiration. Of those 3 teams, Washington and Detroit and Buffalo, what do you take away that is most meaningful? What is the pathway back of those 3 teams that you feel like the Titans should be emulating? Detroit, Buffalo, or Washington?
Detroit. I just don't know what bigger asset did you have as comparable to Matthew
number one overall
other
pick.
than the number
that's
one.
the biggie, right?
But immediately being able to pull a whole lot back. Like, the only issue you run with the number one overall pick is who can you get to like you?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the number 3rd overall pick to get more assets. It's the only thing.
I think if they hit on it's not going to be probably Jaden Daniels from the start. But I'll go with Washington's model. I think they will. I would think, though, that they'll probably spend a little more on one key position. But I think the slow burn in terms of signing more bulk and not spending as much money could work.
Let's get an outsider's perspective. Jayhawk, he was in my ear saying something.
Yeah, Justin.
Justin, what model and who or what, real quick, as we introduce you back to the people?
Look, if you looked at Detroit, the only thing that you have there is Jeff.
I mean, Titans.
For the right.
The comparable.
So if you compare, okay,
Sure.
you take
The asset you could trade, right?
Asset.
You trade out Matthew Stafford. What do you have in Nashville for the Titans that's comparable?
Nothing that big.
Big Jeff is the only
Jeffrey
thing.
Simmons is the best asset on your team who is a player that you could trade. Yeah.
And
Dude.
do you think you can fetch a top first round pick?
By the way, real quick, though, to compare 1-to-1, if we're talking about D tackles, it's a meat and potatoes draft. At the time, Marcel Darius was 2 years removed from being an all-pro first team.
Right.
To that point.
So if you want to be Detroit, Jared Goff was 27 when he started his career with the Detroit Lions. You guys know how old Sam Darnold is?
27?
He's 27. Sam Darnold this past season had a quarterback rating of 102.5. He threw for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Jared Goff's last season in L.A. at age 26, a quarterback rating of 90. It's 12 points worse, 3,900 yards in 15 starts. So yards per game similar. 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He had 15 less touchdowns, one more interception. Jared Goff is, at 27, pretty equivalent to what you'd get in Sam Darnold. Difference is you're signing him versus trading for him. You don't got to give up any draft capital. And you know who else was seen as a system quarterback that was tied to a really good offensive head coach? Jared Goff. Jared Goff had Sean McVay. He's fine. If McVay can't get anything out of him, he's worthless. Is he worthless now? No.
And I think the only difference with that, Will, is like you look at where they are and where they got here. Like Sam Darnold, they're both high draft picks, right? But Sam Darnold clearly, I think, struggled more to find himself in terms of who he is as a quarterback. I know Jared Goff wasn't the best thing coming
100%.
out, but he did take him to a Super Bowl, right?
I will give you that. He does not have the body of work that Jared Goff had. I will concede that. But if you are looking for the season he just came off of, it is very similar to what Jared Goff was when Detroit made that trade.
And real quick, just to throw this out there too, they also took on a big salary and they took Jared Goff also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're equating money to money, right?
For sure.
They took on a big salary.
Jared Goff was seen as just the throwaway as a part of that trade with the draft capital. Like, let's not get it twisted. He was seen as a failure.
He was.
Yeah.
Based on where he was picked. He was seen as, he took him to a Super Bowl, but Jimmy Garoppolo took the Niners to a Super Bowl, and you're not going to grab him. Like, that's not always the end-all, be-all, right?
He was the number one overall pick, Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you this, he lost all his confidence in L.A., and he did have not the greatest first season in Detroit, and he finally was built back up again. So to that point as well, he was pretty much down in the dumps in terms of what he was as a player.
2018.
Commenter on YouTube says, Sam Darnold is Will Levis. Huh?
Wait, no. That I won't agree with.
You guys are crazy.
That I will not agree with.
Sam Darnold is Will Levis? A 102 quarterback rating, 4,000 yards, something a Titans quarterback has never done.
I think before this
Tennessee Titans.
This
Tennessee
rebirth of him, he probably was, not considered anything good.
What I will say is that draft, Baker, Sam, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson,
gross.
4 of the 5 have hit.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen, I could have told you from day one he was not the guy.
So you eventually see the first round talent is what I'm asking?
Sometimes.
Because
I think
Baker's showing.
Sometimes you
do. Yeah, and sometimes it takes
Depends.
3 years because in 2 other teams.
Yeah.
It is a crapshoot.
I totally agree with what Zach Lyons put on Twitter this morning. 100%. Other than one part of it. And he said, I have 2 beliefs about Sam Darnold. He's not as bad as everyone thinks. He's not going to be as expensive as everyone thinks. Does this mean the Titans have to sign him? No. Does this mean he's my preference? Zach says no. I say yes. He says just means everyone has him and the situation pegged entirely wrong and has for a while.
Okay.
Correct.
If he's not that expensive, then go get him and draft Cam Ward still. Boom.
You know what?
I'm not doing that.
If
I'm
you
good.
do that, I want Ted McMillan.
Yeah, let's get fun.
Trade
let's
back
have
and
fun
get a
with
wide
it.
receiver.
If you can move to 6
I don't
and
hate
you
it.
miss out on Cam, Abdul, and Shedeur, give me a stud wide receiver because you don't have. I don't know if he's a stud, but the highest rated one so
Could be.
far.
We'll go rapid fire on the phones when we come back and let you react to the quarterback discussion. 615-737-1045. Your thoughts next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, man. They've been around here since 1990. Y'all know the best part I like to say, man. They're family-owned, and they are family-owned and operated and local, man. Jimmy Hiller has recently been named amongst the most admired CEOs, and it's because of how he truly cares for his team and the clients, too, man. Hiller takes care of the customer on every job, every single time, and they stand by their work. So much so that the slogan is, happy you'll be, the service is free, and they mean that. If a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right. They always send their professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians to come into your home, and they leave it cleaner and better than they found it. They also offer true transparency pricing. What that means is this. Every item of the job will be lined up front, so homeowners understand what they're paying for and why. There will be no hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill, man. If you want more information to book with the company that I trust, simply visit happyhiller.com.
RKW 104.5 The Zone, brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Wrapping up the program, the Buck Rising Show, has you covered. Coming up next, Oregon and Dan Lanning, new 6-year contract worth $11 per year, just announced.
It was deserved.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Increases his annual pay by $2 million, a top 5 paid coach in football. Very deserved.
One of Jimmy Sexton is his agent.
Probably.
Yeah, most
Is the
likely.
sky blue?
Yes, like Drew Rosenhaus is everybody big name in terms of a football player. Yeah.
Did Ron Slay wear a headband? Yeah.
Yes.
Mike in McMinnville, as we go rapid fire on the phones. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Will, I just want to let you know I'm exactly in line with what you've been saying. Sign Sam Darnold if you can. Don't draft Cam. Trade back, get as many picks as you can. But whoever we get, anybody is better than Will Levis. And my question is, if we have the worst roster in the league, and we assume that we're going to get better with whatever moves that we make, there were at least 3 games last year that we should have won.
Yeah.
That I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
We should have won 6 or 7 games last year. Is it too much to ask that we can be competitive for that final wild card spot? You know, like if we're going to improve, I can't stomach thinking, oh, we won 5 or 6 games and that was an improvement. You know, if we can just be 7-9 or 8-8 into that last week, going to that last wild card, is that too much to ask?
Think of Mike. I think it's an outside chance, but but look, I mean, anyone last year who told you they thought Washington would win a playoff game was lying. They were just a Washington fan. Like, anything is possible in this league, depending on what they do with all the money they have and the draft picks. Maybe. I think it's doubtful, but maybe. I can't sit here on March 6th and tell you who's going to play for them next year, so I don't know.
You know what he's asking for? Meaningful football.
4-letter word called hope.
No way.
Meaningful football.
I feel like we haven't felt like that in a while.
Maybe. I mean, there's a world where they draft Cam Ward. He's a stud, and he is Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to live in that world, but we could.
Never know, right?
We could sign Sam Darnold. He could be 2019 Ryan Tannehill, take you on a run.
Sure.
I really don't know. Once we have a better picture of who's playing for this team next year, we can all give you a more clear answer on that.
I should go get an 8
question.
ball, and every day I'll ask the 8 ball like the questions we want asked, and maybe that will give us a clear
At this point,
think of it the call
insight.
At this point,
I threw my 8 ball out. I got so scared. I was
Did
like,
you?
yeah, this is not giving me the answers I want.
heebie-jeebies.
We go next to East Nashville Ed. What's up, Ed?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, just a couple of things, man. First of all, I don't think the Titans were that bad yet, last year. I think they have a decent roster, actually better than decent. If I'm not mistaken, did the Titans not have the number 2 overall passing defense in the NFL?
Yeah, it's because everybody ran on
Yardage-wise, they were up there.
Hold on. Did we not also have, and maybe I'm mistaken, did we not also have 2 receivers that caught over 1,000 yards this year?
You did not.
No.
You did not have 2 receivers with 1,000 yards. You had one in Calvin Ridley, who was 1,017. Your next closest was NWI with 497.
All right. And all that with the worst quarterback in the division. You bring me a quarterback. It could be Sam Darnold. It could be Jared Goff. I think the Titans are in the playoffs last year. And the defense, guys, let me tell you, if you got an offense that's scoring one more touchdown every game, that defense might be the number 1 defense in the league, or at least behind Philadelphia. That's the way I look at it. I mean, those things work hand in hand. You just can't say, oh, they're 3-14, they're terrible. I don't think so. I think we have a good roster. We just had terrible quarterback play.
Thank you, Ed.
And if you look around the league, every team, every year that's in the playoffs, you have a quarterback that's having a good year. Doesn't necessarily have to be a good quarterback.
Thank you, Ed. We're out of time. We got to move on. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we are kind of up
had
against
to go.
it.
That was me that cut the line right there. That's my bad.
No, it was me. It's fine. I'll own it. I don't care. I'll be the bad guy. Titans lost 8 games last year by multiple possessions. I'm sorry. Like, this is not a middle-of-the-road roster. This was a bad roster that had very little margin for error. And many of those guys you're talking about who were really good last year on defense, they aren't here anymore.
No,
you traded away Ernest Jones. Sebastian Joseph Day might not want to run it back again. You had a lot of 1-year contracts. Quandre Diggs got hurt. You were decent with him. You weren't without him. So, Like, I don't care that they were the number 2 yardage defense. They were 30th in points allowed. That's what matters.
They also started a stinking rush defense, too.
Yeah, they did. Sorry. I disagree with you, Ed. I appreciate your optimism.
That's a lot. I want to be.
And they could be better next year. I mean,
could be
look,
better.
I just got done saying they could make the playoffs, but let's not do the revisionist history thing. Yardage does not mean much. They were 30th in defensive scoring, 27th in offensive. That is what matters.
You might not have got knocked out, but your ribs
That
are
was
broken.
wild, man.
I know.
It took me on a ride.
I know. We got to be real about it.
I love that, though.
Hand in my head.
Well, Sean and Brian, I know you guys are hanging on. Call back tomorrow. We'll get you tomorrow. East
Yeah.
Nashville Ed has taken the remainder of the caller time and the remainder of our time this morning. Fun show.
That was fun.
Ed, I want you to know I
It's been a
appreciate
crazy
you.
week.
Don't think that was a bad call. I
Ed, we
appreciate
still
it.
love
I
you.
wish we could have started with Ed and do the negative and then end with they could make the playoffs next year. I feel bad that I have given the people negativity to end the show. So the sun's out today. It's a beautiful day in Nashville.
Facts.
You got the number 1 overall pick. You might not have to watch Will Levis anymore. There's a new stadium going up. Life is good. The sun came up today. Your feet hit the floor. Be thankful for it. Back at it tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be Friday. There's more positivity.
Ed, I love you, dog. Just so you know, that was good.
We love you too.
Yeah.
Call in anytime.
Anytime.
We just disagree with you.
We're
That's
just being
okay.
critical.
But you got to remember, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot, Ed.